Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. This is kind of a impromptu live stream. So I had plans to film some content this morning, and Mother Nature had some other ideas. You know, look at the forecast, and the forecast said like 70, 80% chance of rain, but I'm thinking to myself, I mean, there's still a chance. I mean, maybe just like a chance I can get out there and film. But unfortunately, that doesn't look like that's going to be able to happen. Not this morning anyway, maybe this afternoon. So I want to take a little bit of time and chat about a topic that I've been getting a lot of questions about over the past week around granular versus liquid fertilizer. There's going to be another video and a complete piece of content that's dedicated to this topic, but I figured why not get out here and just chat about it this morning. Since I got my studio, I can just do that. It's not going to be like my normal YouTube videos, but hey, at least you guys can also ask questions if you guys are interested in, if you have any questions around what I'm going to be talking about. So the normal spiel. If this is the first time you have joined the live stream, welcome. Super happy to have you here. The way this works is really simple. You'll see a chat box on your screen. You enter your question, concern, comment of the day, and I work through them in the order they come in. Sometimes I have the answer. Sometimes I do not. But either way, we have a great time on a Sunday morning talking about lawn care. All right, guys. So this morning I was all rearing to go to get out there, film some content, you know, get the season going now. The grass is greening up, warmer weather's here. And again, like I said, Mother Nature had other ideas. So this is what what outside this morning looks like right now. So I can show you guys. This is what the front lawn, this is like 6-7 minutes ago. That's what I'm dealing with. So obviously I'm not going to be out there filming video with it looking like that. Not right now anyway. So I said, hey, why not just chat with you guys instead? All right, so the topic that I wanted to cover, and first let me just acknowledge some of the guys that are here in the chat. We got Ahmad Adamra in the house saying, good morning, Ron. Grass started recovering after sand leveling last week in Houston. Yesterday was 92 degrees. Awesome, awesome. Glad to hear that, Damra. Glad to hear that your lawn is already bouncing back from the top dressing work. That's always a good thing. Being in Houston, you know, you guys, it stays warm there as close as you guys are to the Gulf, a lot of the year. So I'm not surprised that when you're getting enough heat and temperature that your lawns are recovering quickly from top dressing. So guys, first I'm gonna go through the topic that I want to discuss, and then we will take questions if you guys want to do that. So granular versus liquid fertilizer, a question that I've been getting a lot of around this week. So again, just wanted to make a quick video to talk about it. So some of the emails I've been getting is people asking, should I use granular fertilizer or should I use liquid? It's like an either or type of thing. Some people are saying, should I go with Humic Max or should I go with like the 901C in the carbon kit or Turfplex or some other option? And I'm going to tell you the way I like to think about this, and then you can decide whether it's for you or not. But I'm going to tell you what I do and what produces great results, and also what I teach in the Golf Course Lawn Academy. So I don't really see granular and liquid fertilizers as an either or type thing. It's more of like it's like they serve two different purposes. So granular has its advantages, its pros and cons. Liquids have advantages and pros and cons. And I find that, if you got the time, if you're the kind of person that likes working on your lawn anyway, right? Which most of you guys probably are that kind of person. There's a lot to be gained by using both of them together. So let's talk about the pros and cons of each of them. So for granulars, the biggest thing is that they're easy to apply, right? For a person that is getting into lawn care, the only tool you really need is a broadcast spreader. If you're really trying to be picky, you're going to get a bucket and a scale and weigh out how much product you're going to be putting down your lawn. So the first time you apply it, you don't over or under apply. But for the most part, a broadcast spreader, if it's set up properly, your walking pace is normal, like as a regular walking pace, you're going to get a pretty good result with a granular fertilizer. The negatives to granular is that they take a bit longer to be seeing results. So depending on the formulation, you can figure 5 to 7 days after application is when you're going to start seeing a visible color response in your grass. And then as far as feeding, they tend to feed longer than liquids do. So if you like the fertilizers that we carry on the Golf Course Lawn Store, like Humic Max, the Stress, the Complete, they're designed to feed a lawn for 4 to 6 weeks, right? So you apply them, say, the beginning of April, so like next weekend, April 1st, and that's going to pretty much carry you throughout the entire month of April until into the first part of May. So that's the thing about granulars, and I like to think of them as the ones that do the heavy lifting. That's how I like to think of granular fertilizers. Liquids, on the other hand, right? They work faster. So as far as seeing a color response faster, and as far as a faster uptake, you're going to see a much faster response with liquids than you will with granulars. You figure you apply liquid fertilizer to your lawn, assuming conditions are right, the turf is dry, the grass begins absorbing that immediately, and really within a couple of days, you're going to see a color response. So within 2 days after you apply liquid fertilizer, you're going to see a difference in color depending on what you're applying. So if it's like if you're applying a fertilizer that has a bit more iron in it, you're going to start seeing a deeper green, and so on and so forth. So the cons to liquids are that you really need to have a properly calibrated backpack sprayer or a sprayer. We've got a 2-gallon sprayer that can work too, but a properly calibrated sprayer to get a good result with them. So by calibrated, I mean you need to ensure that you are putting out the right amount of product over 1,000 square feet. So you take a fertilizer like I can actually show you guys really quick. You take a fertilizer like say 901C. Right, so if we come over here to the lawn fertilizer section, you look at like something like Turfplex or 901C, right? The way the labels of these products are written or set up, they assume that you're applying a certain amount of the product over 1,000 square feet. So in the case of 901C, I like to use this at 2 to 3 ounces mixed with a gallon of water over 1,000 square feet. And the way to ensure that that's actually happening is that you take the time to calibrate your sprayer to know what your walking pace needs to be based on the pressure setting of your sprayer and also based on the spray tip that you're using in your on your sprayer. So that's the thing. So it's a bit more work initially with liquids as far as getting a good result, but the benefit is you get a faster response. And another big benefit to liquids is that as far as getting more complex formulations, so in other words, the ability to mix different products together. So a good example, if I were going to go do, if I wanted to spray a biostimulant and fertilizer and also use like a growth regulator like Humic Max, like Primo Max rather, like Primo Max, you can do that with liquids. It's easier to mix multiple products together and spray them all at one time, which saves time and energy, right? So it's an efficiency gain that you get with liquids. So the question is, should you use liquid or granular? Again, the way that I like to do it, and I will go into this here in a second, is a combination of both. So what I will do is I will apply a granular fertilizer, so say something like Humic Max, at the beginning of the month, and I only apply that once per month. And I apply it at a rate of around, that puts out about half a pound of nitrogen per month over the course of the 4 to 6 week period. So that does most of the heavy lifting as far as applying the nutrient demands to my lawn. And then on top of that, I'll take like a liquid fertilizer like 901C, and I'll combine that with a micronutrient like Nutrizolve, and I'll spray that and a couple other biostimulants at the same time, but on the 1st of the month and also on the 15th of the month. So the net result is that you end up at around 7/10 of pounds of nitrogen going into your lawn, into your soil. Which, I mean, for any of you guys that are watching this that are new, you're kind of thinking, what does that, why does it really matter? What's the benefit of doing that? Is that what you end up with is more consistent color and growth. Like if you were to go very heavy or heavier on a granular fertilizer, even the ones that are supposed to be slow release, what you tend to find is that when you first apply them, you're going to see a surge of growth, and then they'll taper off some, and then it slowly they feed less and less and less and less. By mixing a liquid and granular together, you're able to get rid of that effect, in the sense that you're able to just smooth out that curve to where the growth is more consistent, the color is more consistent, and again, there's a lot of benefits from a standpoint of being able to also mix biostimulants along with your liquids to get a great result in your lawn. So another question I've been getting here lately is on watering. So do you water them in or not water them in? So you have liquids and granulars. Do you water in granulars and liquids, or do you not water in granulars and liquid fertilizers? So as a general rule, and of course there's exceptions to every rule, but as a general rule, granulars you do water in. So a good example here is if we were to go back to the store, and I'll show you a couple of options here. So some of the fertilizers that I run, you look at like Humic Max, the complete 14-7-14 to the stress, as well as the Miramichi Green Premium Organic. If it's a granular fertilizer, in most cases you're going to water it in after application. Here's the reason why. Granular fertilizers are designed to get down into the soil where bacteria and fungi consume them, and they transform the fertilizer into a form that's available for the plant for uptake, right? So they have to get in the soil for that to work. So if they're sitting on top of if you apply it, they're sitting on top of the grass or on top just on the surface of the soil, kind of limited value. So watering them in is a way to get them into the soil profile to where they can begin to work properly. So as a general rule, granulars, you're going to water them in after application. When it comes to liquids in general, again, this is not true for all cases, but with liquids in general, they are foliar absorbed. So think of a liquid fertilizer, the way it works as almost like your skin, like you're spraying it onto the skin of the grass, of the plant, which is like the leaf of the grass. It's almost like if you were to put a lotion on your skin. Say your skin is dry, you put lotion on. You don't put lotion on and then go wash your hands and wash it all off, right? You put it on your skin, you work it in your skin, and you allow it to dry, and then your skin absorbs it, and through the dermis, it gets absorbed, and then you get the benefits of hydration or whatever the formulation of the lotion you happen to be using on your skin is. With your grass, it's a similar, for the most part, it's the same thing when it comes to liquids. So you spray, you mix liquids properly, you spray them using the proper spray tip. So like a tip that produces a finer droplet size, like this foliar tip from TJet, like I'm showing you here. You spray that on the plant's leaf, and you allow it to dry. The grass takes it up, and then again, kind of like your skin, absorbs it, and then in a couple of days, you're gonna start seeing results. Most liquid fertilizers work that way. Now, there are some that are, even though they are liquid-based, so I'll give you an example of one. So you take like Release 901C, everything that's on the first page of the fertilizer section of the Golf Course Lawn Store are foliar-based, for the most part, except for one, right? So Release 901C, the NutriKelp, the Turfplex, Nutrizol, Bloomplex, all of these, Primo's not a fertilizer, but it's also foliar absorbed. They're all designed to be sprayed, and you allow them to dry. You do not water them in at all. Now, you take a product like Greens Plus, right, which is also a liquid fertilizer, but it's a slower release liquid fertilizer. This one you technically don't have to water in, but if you look at the dilution rates of Greens Plus, of this particular product, versus Turfplex or 901C or any of the other products that we have that are the liquid fertilizers that are foliar absorbed, is the dilution rate for this product is 2 gallons of water mixed with, say, 6 ounces of the product, and you spray that over 1,000 square feet. So why is that? Why would you go up on rate? Why would you go up on the amount of water or of carrier when you're spraying Greens Plus versus when you're spraying 901C or Turfplex or Bloomplex or something along those lines? Is because it's designed to be taken up by the root zone. You're adding more water with it so that it doesn't stay on the leaf. It washes down, it gets into the soil where it can begin to work. So a formulation like Greens Plus that is designed to be soil absorbed, this one you would mix this with 2 gallons of water, whatever rate you're using, and spray that over 1,000 square feet. And again, technically, you don't really have to water this one in either, as long as you are using that higher dilution rate. So 2 gallons of water with whatever rate you're spraying it at over 1,000 square feet. You don't really have to water this one in either. So if you're spraying it the way you spray most of your foliar fertilizers, so say you're not diluting it at that 2 gallon rate. So you say you're diluting it at 1 gallon with 6 ounces over 1,000 square feet. After that, it would be a good idea to run your irrigation to wash it down in the soil, to get the fertilizer in the soil where it can work and do it and work in the way that it's designed to work. But for the most part, again, there's always caveats to every rule, or to any. There are always edge cases. What I'm trying to say, in general, when it comes to liquids, again, and growth regulator like Primo, 901C, NutriKelp, Turfplex, Nutrizol, Bloomplex, these do not need to be watered in. You mix them at a rate of 1 gallon of water as a carrier, based on with whatever rate you're spraying it at. So for 901C and Turfplex, it's 901C and Nutrizol, it's 2 ounces, 2 to 3 ounces mixed with 1 gallon of water over 1,000 square feet. With Turfplex, Nutrizol, and Bloomplex, those are more in the 6 ounce mixed with 1 gallon of water and sprayed over 1,000 square feet. And you do not need to water those in. I'm trying to see what other notes I had here that I wanted to cover. And again, so I'm going to give you guys a couple of combinations now. So that's one thing else I had here that's going to be in the video that's eventually going to get filmed whenever it's not raining like crazy outside. So the one combo I showed you, right, which what I'm going to be spraying on my back lawn next weekend on April 1st is the Humic Max, the 901C carbon kit. So pretty much Humic Max, the 1608, the 901C carbon kit. This is a combination that you can use, and then so that encompasses the 901C, NutriKelp, and BioSpectrum. That combination is a good one to wake up your lawn with over the season, or if you can, or if you prefer, you can substitute Humic Max for the first application with the Stress 12-0-24. So if you are someone that wants to give your lawn a bit of a potassium boost to wake it up as your first application of the season, you can substitute Stress 12-0-24 for Humic Max along with the 901C carbon kit and a little bit of Nutrizol. So that's one combination. For some of you that I got a question from Luis, a gentleman out of Texas, that had a question about what's an organic option. So if I say I want to go take a more organic approach to my lawn fertilization program, you could go with the premium, so like the Mirimichi Premium Organic Fertilizer. So this is just a purely organic fertilizer. It's got some iron in it as well as some humate, bacteria package. So this is purely organic. It's OMRI listed organic. So you could put this on vegetable gardens or whatever you wanted to. So it's truly an organic product. You combine that with either the 901C carbon kit, the one that I was showing you a second ago, or the Release Zero carbon kit. So the difference between these two are this one, the Release Zero one, has no fertilizer in it. This is just biostimulants. Well, I should say this, doesn't have high amounts of fertilizer. You've got a small amount of nitrogen, small amount of phosphorus, and a little bit of potassium. But for the most part, this one does not put a lot of fertilizer or a lot of macros into your soil. Whereas the 901C, this one has 9% nitrogen, 1% potassium, and again, the same formulation that's in NutriKelp. So if you're going for a purely organic approach for your lawn care, I would say either one of the carbon kits combined with the organic granular would be the way to go. What I'm going to be doing on my lawn this year, just as a fun experiment, is the back lawn is going to be treated the way it always is, right? It's gonna start out, even though I said Humic Max, I'm going to be starting out with a 12-0-24 and then transition to Humic Max starting in May and apply that throughout the season. So that's what's going to be going on in the back lawn. For the front lawn, I'm going to be doing the organic approach, right? So I'm going to take the Mirimichi Organic and then I'm going to be spraying the carbon kit along with that and growth regulator. So that's the only thing the front lawn is going to be getting, and we'll be able to compare the results, the differences between the two of them. So cool. So hopefully you guys are getting some value out of that. That's what I wanted to cover as far as liquids versus granular. Again, there's going to be a full video on this once the weather gets better and cooperates, and I can get out there and actually film it, because I don't want to take my camera gear out in the rain. But hopefully for those of you guys, the 60 or so of you that are in here right now watching this, you're getting some value out of that from a standpoint of seeing an option that you can use, or understanding that when it comes to granular and liquids, it's not really an either or. You can use them together for a better result, right? So, okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's see what questions you guys have here. All right, so we got True Seeker 1111 says, what's going on, Mr. Ron? Not too much. I'm doing well. Hopefully you're doing well as well. I'm just saying hi to some of the folks here in the gram that are chiming in. And guys, as always, we're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, so you can consume the content however you want. Take a few more questions here. We got No Name saying, hey Ron, what's going on, No Name? Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully all is going well with you. And Cedric G says, liquid sunshine, Ron. Yeah, it is. I mean, here's the thing, right? We're getting a lot more heat now. Temperatures are getting better, are getting higher. So I can't complain too much on the rainfall. The only problem is that today I really want to get out this morning and film some content, and I got rained out. So we'll see for later on today. It's supposed to stop raining after early afternoon, so maybe I'll be able to get out then and film some content. We'll see. All right. Yep. He says, yep, it's raining in Atlanta. And then Shauna says, I'm about to go mow. Just wanted to say, hey, you go mow, Shauna. That's important. That's more important than talking to me. Go out and get your mow on. That's the, given the choice between hanging out on a lawn care Q&A or mowing your grass, choose mowing your grass every time, right? Grass is not going to mow itself. No Name says, how is your green up start part 2 going? It's not going bad. I mean, you guys can see here a bit. I mean, in the rain out video, I mean, the lighting's not the best, but you can already see that color's coming back into the lawn, right? You can see there that the right side is darker, but overall it's definitely less brown, and more color is returning to the grass. So over this next week, I expect to see a nice response, a big difference in the color, because we're not going to have, temperatures in the 20s and 30s like the craziness we had a couple of weeks ago. So the lawn is gonna take off and start doing what it's doing. The Maestro says, church on Sunday. Yeah, some people go to church on Sunday, but I guess lawn care church, I guess, is in session if that's what you want to call it. That you want to think about it that way. Next up, we have Luis Ramirez says, good morning, Ron. Morning. How's it going, Luis? Hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully you guys have better weather, or I mean, you have to take the good with the bad, right? Hopefully it's not raining where you are, to where you're able to go out in the lawn and either have some fun and do something interesting, right? Instead of having to be indoors like I am right now. Let's see. True Seeker 1111 says, will worm castings hurt your lawn? No. Earthworm castings, while they are unsightly, some people think they look ugly, they're a good sign. It's a sign of healthy soil. You got to think about earthworms as nature's natural aeration tool. Earthworms are a sign of healthy soil. So yes, while they can make the lawn look a little bit, not as great as if there were no earthworm castings, I would take having them in my lawn every day, because they are a sign of good things happening beneath the surface. So yeah, they're not going to hurt anything. What I would do, or what I do, is whenever I go out and I mow, because all my mowers have front rollers on them, whenever the front roller hits the casting, it mashes it down. So I don't do anything special to get rid of the castings before going out and mowing. So I just run over them. That is what I do, and I get there's no problems at all with doing that. So yeah, I would not worry about earthworm castings. They are a good thing. Jackie Jones is in the house saying, hey Ron, what's going on, Jackie? Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you're having some good weather wherever you are in the country. And then from Instagram, we got the Maestro said, had big plans for spring cleanup today. Mother Nature said, hold my iced tea. And E.E. Williams says, come on, Ron, you skipped my question Friday night, hurt my heart. What's your question? Give me your question. Here's the thing. If I skip your question, it's not intentional. I didn't skip your question on purpose. I mean, it depends. I mean, sometimes I have trolls that come in and are just have nothing better to do with their time, and those I ignore. But if you were asking me like a legitimate question, I wouldn't have skipped it. Not intentionally anyway. The big problem is that sometimes on the Friday night live streams is whenever I go down to go look at a super chat, because those end up at the bottom of the comments, to bring those up on the screen, I have to leave my current position, go down, find them. And there's not really a way in the software that I use to mark where I left off. So if I scroll back up and I either scroll up typically it's not far enough, I will miss a block like I did Friday night. So it's not intentional if that happens. If you have a question, drop it in the chat and I will answer it now. So yeah, there's that. All right. R. Reed said, "What's up, Ron? Good morning, folks. Thanks, R. Reed. Good morning to you as well." Next up is Chris McDowell. He says, "How to kill nutsedge? What depends on what kind of grass you have. If it's warm season grass, so Bermuda, zoysia, St. Augustine, Bahia grass, I mean, you name it. If it's warm season grass, what I would use is Certainty. So this product, Certainty with a surfactant. So this and this, the surfactant helps this stick better to the leaf of the nutsedge. And this combination will absolutely smoke it. If you want to see what kind of results you can expect from Certainty on sedges, I can show you really quick, Chris. So if we go to the golf course lawn store, go to shop, and then to weed killer, and then you look at Certainty, in here you'll see, yeah, so this is sedges before spraying Certainty. So this is a single pass of Certainty with surfactant, and this is the results just a few days later. I think this is about a week later, 7 days later, you can see it yellowing. And I wish I'd taken a picture at 2 weeks later, because at 2 weeks, it was completely, I mean, it's like burnt to a crisp. Like you could go over and just hit it with your finger and it would just knock over and break up. So as against sedges, Certainty is devastating. And again, it's all sedges. It's not like if you look and you look at some products, they work against some sedges and some Kalinga, but not all of them. Certainty will take care of all of them. It's a great product if you have warm season grass and you're dealing with sedges or POA in your lawn. The only thing I would tell you is be sure to mix it with surfactant to get the best possible results. This is what I would use. And we carry that on the golf course lawn store. But again, I would encourage you to not just get this, get the surfactant as well. The surfactant doesn't cost that much, and it makes a very big difference in the performance you're going to get out of the product. It just helps it work better. All right, so E.E. Williams is up next. So this is a question he had from Instagram from, I guess I missed it Friday night. He says, I seeded with Scott Sun and Shade mixing Houston on 10,000 square feet. If I keep a good water schedule, will it be okay? Yeah, so I think I got the first part of your question because I do remember that from Friday night, the question about the Scott's seed. I think it was Bermuda grass seed is what you did. So here's the thing. If you're asking, assuming you have enough sunlight, because I'm just going to assume that, assuming there's enough light for the grass to do well, if you are watering properly, then yes, it should grow and it should germinate, right? And what I have found is for the first couple of weeks when it comes to Bermuda grass seed, watering 2 to 3 times a day is what it takes to get a good germination rate. Not so much to the point to where the lawn, I mean, you can't see my lawn right now, but not so much to the point where it's soggy and like a muddy mess, but you just don't want the seed to dry out. So whatever that takes, if it's twice a day, that's fine. If it's 3 times a day, that's fine. If it's 1 time a day, that's fine as well too. But typically for me, I find 2 to 3 times a day is what it takes. And you're saying it's fine fescue and tall fescue with heat tolerant blue seed. Okay, cool. So it is a blend that's designed for more shaded areas. Okay, so and same thing applies. As long as you did a good job preparing it, so you prepared the soil, maybe you put down some compost, some carbonized peat or something similar, some of the rich compost. As long as you keep up with your watering, because most seeding projects fail from lack of adequate watering. People will go out there and they get excited, they put seed down, they water for the first day or two, and then they wonder why they get, like 20-25% germination. So if you want to give yourself the best chance for getting good germination with your seeding project, make sure that you don't allow the seed to dry out over whatever germination period that is required for it. Given that you're dealing with cool season grass, it shouldn't be as long. So fescue, I believe, germinates more quickly than Kentucky bluegrass, and it's definitely more quickly than Bermuda. Ryegrass, the ryegrass portion germinates very quickly as well. So again, as whatever the bag should tell you what you can expect from a standpoint of when you can you should start seeing some germination. But the big thing is getting plenty of sunlight on it and adequate water so it doesn't dry out. Let's see. And then the Phantom 740 has a question here. He says, hey, Ron, would you explain what lime does to the soil and grass? Yeah, so what lime does is it's used to help raise pH levels. So pH, I believe it stands for it's power of hydrogen. So it's a measure of the acidity or the alkalinity of your soil. And grass Most grasses anyway, again, it's caveats to everything, but most grasses do best with a pH range between 6 and 7. And fertilizers, and the reason why they do best is because most of the nutrients that they need, so the macros, as well as the micronutrients, are available, meaning they're in a form, or they're available for uptake for by the grass when the pH happens to be in that range. Whenever pH tends to be low, so the soil is more acidic, so pH levels below 6 are what we consider be more acidic soil. What tends to happen is the nutrients that you're applying, you may apply fertilizer that has iron and several other macros. I mean, there's I forget exactly which ones become less available as pH goes lower, but whenever pH gets become more alkaline, the micros begin to really suffer. So if you get your pH to where it's in the mid 7s and trending higher, so it's a more alkaline soil, even if you apply a granular, say, iron product, it's not going to be as available, meaning that even though you're applying it, the grass can't really take advantage of it versus whenever your pH is in the 6 to 7 range. So you want to aim, if at all possible, to keep your pH in that 6 to 7 range. Lime would make sense to apply if your soil is more acidic. So here in Georgia, not in all lawns, but in a lot of lawns, you'll find in the fall time frame, the lawn care services will apply a lime to the lawn. They'll give it a lime treatment to help bring the pH levels up a bit. So yeah, that is what lime does. It helps raise pH, and you would only apply lime to a soil that is more acidic, so pH levels below 6. And the way to know what your pH levels are and whether you should apply lime or not is by using a soil test. So the one I like and use is the one from My Soil. These are really easy. They're like $30. They're not expensive, and you apply it. You get your samples, send them out. Within a week, you'll get an email saying, "Hey, this is what's going on with your soil. This is where your pH is." And based on that, you can develop your nutrient program. So hope that helps, Phantom. And if you have any other questions, let me know. I've got an entire video on soil pH. Just get on my YouTube channel and look up like Ron Henry's soil pH. And there's a video that'll have, it's like me, it's like my face, my mug. I'm sorry for that part. And there's like a scale. It's like this rainbow scale with showing the different pH levels in the thumbnail. So you found the right video if you find that one. All right, so we have another question here on Instagram from 909 Please. He says, "Hey Ron, I just sprayed Celsius Uncertainty on my Bermuda last week. It rained here in Southern California. 19 hours later, unexpectedly to me. Do you think it had enough time to stick? And love your online store." Yeah, thank you so much. So as long as you use surfactants, you're just fine. So as long as you use this, you said you applied Celsius and Certainty. As long as you use surfactant along with it, you're going to be just fine. I mean, it typically only takes a few hours for herbicides, for foliar-based herbicides to dry on the plant leaf. And especially if you're using surfactant, that's really going to help it stick to the leaf and help with that uptake as far as the herbicide doing what it's supposed to do against the grass. So if you applied it and then 19 hours later you got rain, I wouldn't worry about it. You're gonna be just fine. And again, thanks for the kind words about the store. I'm glad that you find it useful. All right, so back to the YouTube. I know you guys are saying, "Hey man, we're over here. Come over here and come back to us. We need love too." So I got you covered, Chris. Other questions we have is Chase Thompson saying, "What's up, everyone? What's going on, Chase? Hopefully you're doing well." And then Shelby Amos says, "Thanks for the info on the new Miramichi 444. Should lay it down. Will it be available all the time now?" Yes, that's the goal. So what Shelby's talking about is the new fertilizer offering from Miramichi Green. If you go to shop and then go to the lawn fertilizer section, you'll see this guy. So right now it's on sale. Believe it or not, $69.99 these days. It actually represents a sale when it comes to lawn fertilizer. Who'd have thunk it? And when this initial batch the amount that is allocated for this price is sold, the price will go back up. It'll increase by $10 to $79.99. That's what it's going to go to. So if you want to save, there's no like order limits. If you want to buy as much as you can, by all means, go for it. Once the initial batch the initial allocation that is priced for this level is gone, then the price is going to go back up. So it's a great product. Again, it's a truly organic, unrelisted fertilizer. And you also get a bacteria package in it, a little bit of humic acid. I mean, it's a great product. There's some iron in here, but a bit of calcium. So you can see the formulation. It's a great product. You guys have no idea. This product, the 444 was supposed to be launched like this time last year, and it just shows how long it takes to get things certified, because a big part of it was getting the the OMRI listing, right? Getting that label, having it go through the process and getting it certified that it's a truly OMRI listed organic product, because that matters a lot, right? For people that want to put it on like vegetable gardens, or just want to know that, hey, I'm using a product that has been evaluated by a third party other than the manufacturer. That is what that OMRI listing really stands for and means. Because you find a lot of products will say, yeah, they're organic, but they won't have that OMRI label on it. Whereas this guy, the Mirimichi 444, truly is. So it's truly organic products. For those of you guys that want an organic lawn care program, that's a good product to use as your foundation, as your basis. So glad it was helpful, Shelby. Next up is Greg Lyons. Says, so surprised to see you this morning. We haven't had enough rain yet. Yeah, so I was supposed to go out filming. I had it all planned out. And, here's the thing. Looking at the forecast, I should not have gotten my hopes up, because the forecast really was biasing more towards rainfall than not rainfall. But I had my script done and all my shots planned and everything good to go. And then this happened. And then, this heavens opened up. I mean, it was around 8 o'clock in the morning, 7 to 8, it was fine. But then, 9 o'clock hour, it opened up and it's been coming down, and it's supposed to be like this for the majority of the day. But hopefully this afternoon it breaks. I got a break in the weather where I can get out and film, man. Because I want to make some of I like the live streams and I like the YouTube shorts, but I like my traditional content. I think some of you guys like the other style videos as well too. So I want to start filming some of that stuff now that the weather's better and the grass is starting to green up, and it's going to be more fun. People care about that stuff a bit more, right? So yeah, so the next best thing is, whenever you can't film outside, you film inside. And why not just chat with you guys and answer your questions? Because I'm not the only one that's getting rained out, right? You guys are too, so we may as well be in misery together, right? All right, Cedric, she says, like and smashed the like button even on a Sunday morning. Yeah, guys, so we got like 75 people in here in the live stream, which is pretty good for a Sunday. If you guys are enjoying the show or enjoying the content, feel free to hit that like button. It costs you absolutely nothing, and it is a free way to lend support to the channel. I would really appreciate it very much as I sip on my cup of Joe. All right, Joseph Roberts is up next. He says, good morning. Morning, Joseph. Hopefully all is going well with you, sir. Hopefully all is going well. Make sure I'm looking good here on Instagram. Thanks for coming to hang out. You're very welcome, the Phantom, and then that Texas Boy 04. It says, heading out to the lawn now. Thanks, Ron. Go forth and conquer. The Phantom, the one thing I was thinking about that I didn't cover as far as lime. When it comes to lime products, they fall into two major categories. You've got dolomitic lime and calcitic lime. And which one you need, you really need to get a soil test to be able to tell you that. So if your magnesium levels are low, so if they're below the optimal range in your soil test results, then you will want a dolomitic lime. And if your magnesium levels are fine, then you'll go with calcitic lime. The reason being that dolomitic lime by percentage has more magnesium in it than calcitic. Either one will work, but if you find that your magnesium levels are low, dolomitic lime is a better fit, because it will also, in addition to raising pH, it's also going to raise your magnesium levels. So that's the only other thing I didn't cover. I was just thinking about that as I saw your name again between the two. So get a soil test done, and the way to remember them again, if magnesium is low, M is closer to D in the alphabet. So you go with the lime that starts with D, so dolomitic. And if the magnesium is fine, then you can go with the calcitic lime. So hope that helps. All right, next up is Mr. Robert Rainey. He says, good morning, everyone. What's going on, Robert? You not out playing golf today? It's a nice Sunday morning. I'm surprised you're not out there hitting the links, man. All right, next up is Liz. She says, morning, I am also rained out. Do you have any tips for spraying glyphosate in beds without leaking, overspraying onto the grass? I have seen a wheel-like shield. Yeah, so what I would do is this. I'll hang on a second, guys. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. I'll give you an example. What I would do is, if you can get a piece of cardboard, so like a box, I've got a box here. If you got a piece of cardboard like this, right? Use this as a shield. So if you're spraying, let's say, I can't really show you because I don't have that much space here, but let's say that on the side between you and me, right? Your mulch beds are between you and me, and then the lighting and the shells behind here is your lawn. So you would simply hold this, or have someone hold this between, like at the pavers or whatever delineation you have between your mulch beds and the lawn, and then do your glyphosate spray, just spray the weeds you're trying to target in your mulch beds, and then just move this as you're spraying. So a physical barrier really works best. thinking that you can, you can eyeball it and just try to keep most of the spray on the beds, you're going to end up dinging the grass if you do that. So the best approach that I have found is to use a physical barrier, so a piece of cardboard, something like that, something you can dispose of once you're done with it, right? Because it's gonna have glyphosate all over it once you're done with it. So it's not something you don't want to get something that you're going to plan to use. So get a piece of cardboard, old box, whatever, and use that as a shield as you're spraying to keep it isolated to the area that you want to keep it on. So hope that helps, Lej. And if you have any other questions, let me know. All right, Sam is up next. He says, let's see. Hey, Ron, what's the best fertilizer spreader in the $100 to $150 price range? Possibly willing to go as high as $200. Now, I can tell you, I can't necessarily say what is the best, but I can tell you which one I like the best in that price range. So you asked me, and I am an expert on my own opinion. So the fertilizer spreader, the broadcast spreader that I like and love is the one from Earthway. It's the 2050P. So it's this guy. First of all, I'll give you a link here in the chat for it. So if you feel like supporting the channel, you can go to Amazon, pick one up, and it's not going to cost you any more. So this guy, Sam, that, and Earthway 2050P, right? So that one. So you got your answer, and I'll show you the spreader now. So it's a little bit more, and the price went up on these. And if it were me, I would stretch a little bit and get one of them. So if we look here, this guy, now they have different ones. They have less expensive ones. There's the 2050, and there's also, I think there's a smaller one. There's one that's like half the size. But I would get the 2050. So this guy here, you might be able to find it cheaper than on Amazon. I don't know, but it's like $235 is what it's going for right now. This spreader used to be like $160. So everything's just costing more. But the reason why I like this is, one, you got air-filled tires on it, right? It's built like a tank. Like literally, I had one of these for 4 years. And when I got rid of it, it's because I gave my old one, I gave it to Alex. He's still using it, still works great. And I bought another one of the exact same thing. So as far as a great spreader, it's really tough to beat this one. Reason why I like it as well is because if you go look at take any of the fertilizers that we carry on the golf course lawn store, right? So any of the more professional grade products, anything from Lebanon, or if you start looking into like insecticides, fungicides, any of the more professional grade products, what you will find is the product labels will not have calibration settings for Scotch spreaders. Not that there's anything wrong with a Scotch spreader, but because those products are more targeted for the professional turf industry, you'll find on the label, spreader settings for like Spiker, for Lesco, for Earthway. So I'll give you an example here, right? So if we go to the store and you look at, like, say, Humic Max, and you look at the label for it. Let me see, I got it right here. If you look at the label for spreaders, you see you've got the Lebanon Turf Spreader, Anderson's, the Earthway Rotary, which is the 2050 falls into, Gandy, Lely, Lesco, Proscape, SS, Spiker, Vicon, but you don't see Scott's on there. Now, we've got you covered in the sense that we've got calibration settings for Scott spreaders on the store, because I know a lot of you guys got Scott spreaders. But a big benefit to an Earthway is you don't have to go through that whole process of doing like spreader conversion charts and figuring out, what's the right setting for my spreader for this particular product. Like, because it is considered a more prosumer type spreader, you're gonna get love from the more professional grade product manufacturers in the sense that there's going to be a calibration for that spreader on their bag. So for me, that's a big reason, and it's just also a great spreader. The only thing I would tell you is if you get one, when they come assembled, you literally fold the handles out and tighten the wing nuts. The only thing I will tell you is that if you get some blue Loctite, and there's 2 wing nuts that hold the handle in place, put a drop of blue Loctite on each side, on each one of the nuts, and then tighten it up and give it a good snug, and then you're good to go. The older ones, the one that I had from 2017, 2018, where I got mine, like that one had it's like a nylock, kind of like a insert in it that prevented it from backing off. These new ones, it's just a fully metal wing nut. So with vibration as you're moving it, they can loosen up if you don't put Loctite on it. It's a one-time thing you have to do. Just put, again, a drop of Loctite on each one of those, crank them down, and then you're good to go. So that is the one that I would recommend, the Earthway 2050P. That's what I like. There's other ones that are good too, but that's the one I have direct experience with. Mine has never failed on me, and if mine broke, or if I were going to get another one, I would just get another one of the exact same thing, because I also know when I'm putting down like my Essential G or my other products, I know what setting works for what. And because I'm kind of a creature of habit, I can just continue to use, I prefer to just keep the same piece of equipment, especially since it does a great job. So hope that helps, Sam. I know I'm kind of leaning you more towards that $200 side of your budget, but here's the thing. When it comes to lawn care tools, I am a big proponent of buy once, cry once, right? You think about it, your spreader, you're not going to be replacing that very often, or you shouldn't be, hopefully, right? You buy that spreader and you can keep it for 5-10 years, depending if you take care of it a really long time. So the price difference rather, between a $230 spreader and $150 spreader, taking or extrapolating that over 10 years or amortizing is probably better. Amortizing that over 5 to 10 years, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really add up to a whole lot of money. So I would get a better piece of equipment that is going to last you for a longer period of time. You're going to have less hassles with using it because, again, you're just going to be able to look on the bag. It's going to say this setting, you dial it in and go to town, right? So that is the one I would go with if it were me. So hope that helps. There's other manufacturers out there as well. I think Echo makes some pretty good spreaders. I've never used any of them myself. I think Alan's a pretty big fan of the Echo spreaders. So take a look at those too if you want another option. But I don't have personally any direct experience with those to know how they are. So hope that helps. No Name's up next. He says, I use Nutrizol, but since we are on topic today, are there any granular ferts that have as many micros? Yeah, so some of the Yard Mastery fertilizers have a micronutrient package added to them as well. The Lebanon fertilizers have some micronutrients. So for example, not Humic Max, because this guy is largely just a straight fertilizer with humic acid in it. But if you look at like the Complete or the Stress, those, we can come down here to the formulation section. So you get some iron, you get some manganese, and you get a bit of magnesium. And this also has some sulfur as well too. But as far as micros, the iron and manganese is what this contains. So yeah, so you still want to supplement, in other words, to cover your demands for boron and copper and zinc. You'd want to supplement with Nutrizol. But however, like I'll show you here. Now, if you wanted to, and this is why playing with liquids and granulars is kind of nice, right? So say you were using like the Complete 714, but say you were using something like Turfplex, right? Turfplex, if memory serves me correctly, has iron, has magnesium, but it also has a bit of zinc in there. So between your liquids and granulars, you're typically able to cover the entire gamut of what your nutrient demands are for your turf. So Nutrizol is a great product in that it is strictly micronutrients. So if you were going to combine, say Nutrizol, say you're using Turfplex, right, as your liquid fertilizer, what I would say is this: the rate for Turfplex is 6 ounces per 1,000. And the rate for Nutrizol is also, I believe, 6 ounces per 1,000. I'm pretty sure that's correct. I don't have a bottle up here, but I'm pretty sure that's right. It's also 6 ounces per 1,000. What I would do is, if you are using Turfplex and Nutrizol, because they contain, because Turfplex also contains iron and zinc, what I would do is I would back the rate down on the Nutrizol. Instead of spraying the Nutrizol at 6 ounces per 1,000, if you're mixing it with Turfplex, I would spray it at 3 ounces per 1,000. So one, you're saving some money because you're not using more of the Nutrizol than you need to, because you're getting some iron already in Turfplex, you're getting some zinc already in Turfplex, you're getting some magnesium already in Turfplex. So you just don't need to, there's no reason to overdo it, and you just get more applications out of your Nutrizol if you're using a product that already has some iron in it. You know what I mean? But as far as the two Lebanon Turf products, the new ones that we just brought in, the Stress and the Complete, have iron, some magnesium, and some manganese in them. And I believe the Yard Mastery fertilizers also contain a micronutrient package as well. So which is also pretty rare. You don't typically find fertilizers that have the complete gamut of micronutrients. So hope that helps. No Name. If you have any other questions, definitely let me know. See if we have anything else down here from the folks in the gram. Nothing. I guess you guys are either out mowing your lawns or about to go out mowing your lawns, or you're just lurking. All right, next up is Jamar McKinney. He says, I am wary of using growth regulators. My lawn gets green, but it's kind of thin. I'm afraid growth regulator would prevent it from thickening up. What you will find is actually the opposite. So Jamar, growth regulators, here's the thing. PGRs, Primo Max, is nothing to be scared of, nothing to worry about, nothing. They are not, if you use them, if you spray them properly, kind of like if you spray fertilizers properly, you get a great result. You get, it's going to help your lawn thicken up, because the thing that, the way how Primo Max works, right? The active ingredient in Primo is called trinexapac ethyl. And not to geek out too much, but what it does is it suppresses an enzyme in the grass called gibberellic acid. So it suppresses gibberellic acid synthesis, which is the enzyme that your grass uses to grow tall. It helps with the stalk part of the grass growth, right? So it slows that down. So what happens then is the grass tends to grow more leaf tissue, and it tends to spread. So as far as a way to, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a way to thicken up your lawn, but as far as growth regulator making your lawn thinner, I've never seen that to be the case. Especially if as long as you're spraying it at the correct rates, as if anything, it has the opposite effect. It tends to make your lawn more dense, more thick, because if you have a grass like Bermuda, it tends to creep and spread out more. The leaf tends to get, you get more leaf tissue, because the grass don't need to catch as much sunlight, and because it's not growing as tall, it just encourages it to grow outwards. So the big thing with PGR is that it's just like everything else, is applying it at the correct rates. The way that I would say, especially if you're new to it, and even if you're not new, even if you're someone that's experienced using growth regulator, you'll get a better result if you take a split application approach. So on the product label, and we can do this here really quick, I can show you. On the product label for Primo Max, right? We can go here and right there it is. All right. You'll find the rates that they give, assume that you're spraying it once per month, and it gives a monthly application rate. So if we look at, say, Kentucky bluegrass, right? Because it's an easy one, because the math is easy. All right, so Kentucky bluegrass, the monthly application rate for Kentucky bluegrass with Primo is 0.6 ounces, 0.6 fluid ounces, mixed with a gallon of water, sprayed over 1,000 square feet, right? So the strategy that you can use for spraying Primo, you're not going to get any tip burn by doing it this way, and you're going to get all the benefits of regulation and all the other benefits that come with using growth regulator, is to split it up into 2 apps. So on the first of the month, you would take this 0.60 rate, cut that in half, so you would spray 0.3 or half of that, and then on the 15th, you would spray the other half. So because the bottle has this nice measuring cup built into it, you'd measure out 0.3 ounces of Primo. You'd mix that with your liquid fertilizer of choice, 901C, Turflex, whatever you're using. You'd spray that over your lawn, and then on 15 days later, you'd come back and do the exact same thing again, so that over the course of the entire month, we're getting to that monthly recommended limit, that recommended rate. But you're not getting any of the negatives, which the real only negative to trinexapac ethyl is if you spray it at full rate. But if you say you spray it on a Monday, what can happen is a couple days later, you can get some temporary yellowing called tip burn. And it's a temporary thing, meaning you spray it on a Monday at full rates. By Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, you may, not all cases, but you may see a little bit of yellowing in the grass. When you mow the grass, next time you mow the lawn, you're going to cut the tips that are yellowed off, and you're going to be good. It's going to be happy days, right? It's not like it's going to continue growing back yellow. It's just that first time, just the tips of the grass, kind of like the name implies, get burnt. But a way to prevent that is to do exactly what I was telling you, which is to divide the application rate in half. So instead of spraying once per month, spray twice per month at half rate, and you get all the benefits without negatives. Now, to help out with this as well, we have a blog post on the Golf Course Lawn Store. If you go to the store and just go to the blog section, you will find this article, which talk about how plant growth regulators not make your lawn thinner and greener, but how they can make it thicker and greener. Because a byproduct of using growth regulators is it tends to help the lawn thicken up, assuming you're keeping up with your mowing. But this article talks all about growth regulators, when to apply them, how they work, the benefits, the pros and cons, and then the section 3 is all about how to avoid tip burn. So this discusses what I just explained to you about breaking up the monthly application into 2 apps, and you get, again, all the benefits with really none of the negatives if you do that. So to help you out as well, I will take this link and I'll post it in the chat for you. Give this a read. It's really not difficult to use growth regulator. And once you start, the only thing I'll tell you is this. I'll warn you on this. There's one negative, is once you start using growth regulator, you will wonder, one, why you waited so long to do it, and then you're not gonna want to not use it anymore, because the way it makes the turf look, like the color of the turf tends to get a bit darker, not because PGR in of itself does anything to darken the grass, but if you think about like the leaves of a tree, right? If you look at leaves of a tree that are brand new, they tend to be lighter in color, and then leaves that are older, they tend to be darker in color. The same thing happens with your grass. So because there's not as much stalk growth, meaning the grass is not growing as tall, you're getting more leaf. The leaf that is on the lawn tends to be older, tends to get to be mature a bit more, which tends to be darker in color. So even though Trexapac Ethyl doesn't, again, it's not like iron where it helps boost chlorophyll production and helps makes the grass like visually darker. A byproduct of growth regulator is your lawn does tend to get a deeper color to it. So hope that helps. You got my explanation, you got the blog post, and hopefully this has given you enough confidence to try it out. It's a lot of fun. You really will like the way your lawn looks once you start using PGR. So just something to keep in mind. And again, you can get it in a smaller amount. We have this on the store to where you're not buying like a huge amount of it. So if you try it out, you decide, hey, it's not for me, I don't like it, you don't have a huge cash investment in like a gallon jug of the stuff. So there is that. So hope that helps. All right, so let me see if there's any other questions we have here from Instagram. Okay, the Maestro says, I applied Biochar DG Thursday, but had some heavy rain this weekend. Would you reapply, or does the rain help to soak the product in then it washes the product out? Yeah, so if it's a granular product, so like something like Essential G, any granular fertilizer, yes, rain is a good thing. Rain is a good thing. Like it's going to help work the product down into the soil profile where it needs to work. I wouldn't worry about it. It's, if anything, the Maestro, you did not lose you didn't lose any of the product. This question comes really common when people tend to apply like granular pre-emergent. They say, oh, I applied granular pre-emergent, I got like 2 inches of rain, or I got an inch of rain, did I lose it all? Is it all going to wash away? And the answer in general is no, right? As soon as it gets wet, it becomes less mobile because it begins to break down and starts to go seep down in the soil. And if you want an easy way to tell, is find out where your lawn drains, right? So in my case, on my lawn, it's by the sidewalk where the swale ends in the sidewalk. If I go there, if were having a ton of washout, I would be able to go there, like even now, and I'd see a bunch of Essential G piled up there, or a bunch of Essential G in that area, because that's where all the water from the back lawn, it drains through that swale area, and I just don't have that, right? Same thing if you're applying, say, pre-emergent. Prodiamine is yellow in color, so it's going to be really easy to see. Wherever your lawn drains, go and look there after a really heavy rain. You're going to find you're not going to see that area is like it's like bright yellow because all the pre-emergent that you applied over the lawn got washed to this one section. So in general, it's the fear of a heavy rainfall making you lose a lot of your granular product is largely overblown. I mean, if you got 10, 12 inches of rain where it's like the Noah's Ark, like Noah's floods type stuff, and a lot of fast moving water. So you lived on a slope, and then you had a lot of water just rushing on it for an extended period of time. Yeah, in that case, you're likely gonna have some washout, but that's not what most of you guys are dealing with. So I wouldn't worry about it. I would not go reapply the product until the next time you're due to apply it. So hope that helps, Maestro. If you have anything else, let me know. All right, next up we have Chris Dada. Chris Dada is in the live stream, and he says, with liquids, we mix at 1,000 square foot increments, but if your yard is a little less than, say, 5,000 square feet, what to do with the extra? So, okay, so here's the thing. My lawn, very few lawns are exactly fall on 1,000 square foot, interval or measuring. Not interval's not the right word, but very few lawns are exactly 1,000 square feet, 2,000 square feet, 3,000 square feet. There's some variation of that, right? So if you look at, say, like a liquid fertilizer like 901C, right? Like 901C. If I am mixing up, I've got between 11 and 12,000 square feet. If I were mixing, when I mix the product, I mix enough of it for 12,000 square feet because I'm like right on the cusp of that. And you got to remember, because the rates that I use of that are on the lower end, I can just, I don't dump any of it out. I just simply spray. I spray it on the lawn until I'm done, because remember, so in my case, it takes 3 backpack sprayers. I have to do 3 tankfuls to do my entire lawn. And what normally happens is I end up with, I don't know, maybe a quarter of a tank left, or a quarter of a gallon left when I'm done. And what I'll do then is I'll just go to any of the shrubs, the few shrubs that I have, and I'll spray them. I'll spray them with growth regulator. I'll spray them with fertilizer, and I'll use it up on the shrubs and plants that I have around. I may give the vanity strip an extra pass, because again, I'm not really like heavily over applying the product, because I'm applying it. The rates that I'm using are so low that instead of, in other words, if I go over the vanity strip with a little bit extra that I have left over, instead of putting down 1/10 of a pound of nitrogen, maybe I'm putting down 0.12 or 0.13. So it's not enough to where it really makes a big difference. In general, I would say measure or mix your product to end on 1,000 based on that on the 1,000 interval that is just above where you intend to end up. So if you have like a 4,700 square foot lawn, mixed 5,000 square feet of product. If you have a 4,100 square foot lawn, mix 4,000 square feet of product. You know what I mean? So whichever's closer, mix closer to that, and then adjust your application to where you cover it. That is what I do. Under no circumstances do you want to go out there and mix up. Say you have a 2,000 square foot lawn, you mix up 5,000 square foot of product, and then you go dump out the rest of it. You shouldn't do that. So that's just why it's important to know, one, how large your lawn is, to where you're able to mix enough product to where you're as close to that 1,000 square foot marker, to where you're not grossly over or under applying the product. So hope that helps. Chris. You said you're just under 5,000 square feet. So in your case, I would mix 5,000 square feet. And then what you can do is, it's not like you have to also spray it heavily in one area. You can pick up your walking pace, and you can just get rid of the remainder over the rest of the lawn. And again, as far as application rate, you're not increasing it by a measurable amount. So that is what I do. I don't dump out product when I'm done with it. I mix what I intend to use, and if there's any little extra, I'll just use it on the shrubs or other parts of the lawn. That's how I handle that. So it's important to mix what you intend to use. All right, we have a point here. Let me see. I have a question here in the let me see. We have a question here in the comments from Lawn Whisperer 21. I don't think this is the actual Lawn Whisperer. This is someone else. He says, "Hey Ron, going live on Sunday. I like it. Yeah, man, I got rained out, so we had to do something. I want to get some content out." It says, "What would you suggest for earthworms? I know it means healthy soil, but they make the lawn look like a mess. What would you recommend, or just let it go?" I would just let it go. I don't know of a product that is designed to target earthworms that you're supposed to spray on residential lawns. There might be, but in general, I've never researched it, because it's not something that I would ever want to spray. So I would, as much as you may not like the way it looks, Lawn Whisperer 21, I would just let it go. I really would. Let's see. Next up is Mango Stumpy. Says, "Hey Ron, about to spray Celsius today. May the force be with you." He says, "Broadleaf weeds have no chance." Right. So as long as you're spraying it, if you can, hopefully you also got some surfactant to go along with it. This will help you get a better result with Celsius. So, but yeah, as far as an excellent herbicide for broadleafs in warm season turf, it's really tough to beat Celsius. It's a great product. All right, back to the YouTube. Let's see what other questions we got here. No Name is chiming in. He says, "Jamar, PGR will actually cause it to thicken up." Exactly. So as far as making your lawn thinner, that is not typically a byproduct of growth regulator. If anything, it's going to help it get thicker for the reasons that I explained a few minutes ago. All right, next up is Robert Rainey. He says, "No, this is probably over the top asking, but what about 2 sprayers? One for the bad stuff, one for the good stuff, fertilizer, etc., versus herbicide, etc." So you can do that. I don't, because I rinse my sprayer out after each use. So if you've got the budget, put it this way, it's only the only negative is that you're buying 2 sprayers. So if you got the budget to be able to afford 2 backpack sprayers, and you want to have one designated for herbicides and have one designated for any of the sides, right? So one designated for fungicide, insecticide, herbicide, and then one designated for biostimulants and fertilizer. You can absolutely do that. I don't. I just rinse out my backpack sprayer after I'm done using it. So even when I spray fertilizer or even biostimulants, which again, the biostimulants really you don't need to clean the tank out, but I just don't like the tank getting all stained up and stuff. I'm like vain like that. I don't want it to be all like looking ugly, right? So I rinse it after use. And if you do that with your herbicides, it doesn't matter what you're spraying. If you do that after each use, there's really not a problem. I've not had an issue where I sprayed pre-emergent, or I sprayed some some certainty somewhere like in a previous application, and then I go out next time and I spray the carbon kit and fertilizer and primo, and I have parts of my lawn that are dead or discolored. I've never had that because I do a good job of rinsing it out afterwards. So how I rinse it is, one, I use all the material up, all the product that I mix up. I make sure all that is gone. Then I rinse the tank out, dump that out. Then what I'll do is I'll put like, I don't know, 2-3 inches of water in the tank, and then I will run the sprayer for like 30 seconds. So what that does is that cleans, by rinsing the tank out, I've gotten the material, the whatever product was in the tank, I've got that out of the tank. And then by running the sprayer for like 30 seconds, I'm running water through the pump, the lines, the wand, the spray tip, like everything is, the only thing that's in the tank after the spray temperature is done is water, right? So that's the approach that I take whenever I spray liquids, like liquid fertilizers, biostimulants, or even herbicides. I do the exact same thing, and I've never really had a problem. But to your point, if you've got the time, you got the space for it, and you have the budget for it, having two isn't a bad deal. I would still rinse them anyway. I really would. But yeah, if you want to have one designated for each, that's a problem. There's no issue with doing that. There's no issue with doing that. All right, let's see here. Metro says, random question. Why does it seem like, I feel like I'm being targeted here, but I'm gonna read it anyway. Is why does it seem like the guys in the lawn hobby have zero interest in shrubs? I even see guys remove beds to extend their grass. I feel like they go hand in hand. For me, I can tell you, I don't know what it is for other people, but for me, I can tell you what it is. I do not enjoy trimming shrubs. Like it's a pain to do it. It makes a big mess. Like you go and you trim shrubs, and you can pick up all the little clippings and the leaves and everything that comes up from it. It just makes a big mess. And I just don't enjoy it. I don't really enjoy that. I mean, flowers look nice. Like you look at Augusta National whenever the Masters are being played, and the azaleas are all in bloom. It does look really pretty. It looks nice, but it's just not really my thing. I prefer grass, prefer turf, right? So I don't know why others do it, but I would imagine that you don't get to run your reel mower on shrubs. You don't get to spray, it's just, I think it's just a preference thing. Some people just really like turf. They like grass more so than they do like shrubs. And I think it also comes down to the work involved, because to do shrubs, to take care of shrubs in a way that doesn't make a big mess, you got to get like a tarpaulin and put a tarp down like around where you're pruning, so that most of the debris goes into that. Then you got to take it and get rid of it. So it's just more work. And because I don't really like shrubs that much anyway, or flowers or roses that much anyway, I don't put the time into doing it. You know what I mean? So I don't know why. I can tell you, I don't know why others do it, but that's the reason why I am not a huge fan of shrubs. So there you go. So ask some other YouTubers or other people that are into their lawns and see what they say, but I think it's going to be along the same lines. All right, next up is Shauna. She says, I'm low in phosphorus, and after talking to a turf master at A&M, he told me to use 18-24-12. That's an option. It says for 2 years and then retest the soil to focus on phos. Can you tell me the rate I would need? I usually go 1 pound per 1,000 square feet of N. So we can do some quick math. I think it's going to be around between 3 and 4 pounds. We take 18. Let's say 4 pounds, and we multiply that by 0.18. It's gonna be okay. Yes. Here's what I would do. You could apply it at, so 5 pounds. If you apply it at 5 pounds per 1,000, Shauna, that's gonna have you putting down like 0.9 pounds of nitrogen. So just 9/10 of a pound of nitrogen, right under that 1 pound per month limit. So you could do that. You could do the 5 pounds per 1,000. If it were me, I mean, it depends. If kind of like what I was saying earlier when I was talking about like the split feeding program between using liquids and granulars, if you're only doing granular fertilizer, then I would opt more closer to a 3 pound per 1,000 rate, because that's going to put about half a pound of nitrogen into your soil based from the granular, and it still leaves you plenty of headroom to be able to spray liquids a couple times per month, and you know, to where you're not over applying nitrogen, you're not putting too much N into the soil. So it depends. It depends on what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. If you want to split the difference, you could go to 4 pounds. That's 7/10, and then that still leaves you a little bit of headroom as well. But if it were me, I would be applying that at 3 pounds per thousand, and then spraying liquids a couple times per month to get the nitrogen level, overall nitrogen going into the grass at the levels that you want. So it really depends. It's up to you. If this is the only fertilizer you're going to be applying, then 5 pounds per thousand gets you close to that 1 pound of N. If you're going to be spraying other products that also will introduce nitrogen to your plant, to the grass, then 3 pounds is where I would go. 3 pounds is where I would go. 4 pounds at the absolute most, but 3 pounds is where I would go per 1,000 square feet per month. So hope that helps. If you need anything else, let me know. Hopefully that was useful. And I'll tell you the way I did that, right? I didn't explain how I came up with that. So what I did is, you take that bag of fertilizer, right? So it's 18, 24, 12. So it means it's 18% nitrogen by the percentage of the product is 18% nitrogen. So what I said is, okay, if I apply it at 3 pounds, how much nitrogen, or what of that 3 pounds that I apply, if you take 3 and then multiply that by 0.18, which is the amount of the percentage of nitrogen in that bag of fertilizer, that will tell you, of that 3 pounds that you're putting down, how much of that is nitrogen. So in the case of an 18% nitrogen product, it's 0.54, or around half a pound of nitrogen at the 3 pound rate. If you go up to 4 pounds, you take 4 pounds, multiply by 0.18, and you get 0.72. If you go to 5 pounds, 5 times 0.18, you get 0.9. So it's a way for you to figure out, like, if I apply it at this rate, you know, this many pounds to the ground, how much nitrogen, how much phosphorus, how much potassium am I putting into the soil at that application rate? So that's how I work that out. In case you're interested, just take the amount, you know, the amount that you're thinking about putting in, like, say again, like 3 pounds as an example, and multiply it by the percentage of nitrogen that's in the bag. 0.1, whatever it is. So 0.18 for this product, in this case, if it were humic max, it'd be 0.16. So hopefully that helps. You can now figure that out going forward as far as you know, how much to apply based on what your goals are for nitrogen inputs into the lawn. So hope that helps. Next up is Robert Rainey. He says, I guess this is a lazy way of not cleaning the tank thoroughly. It came up due to using a turf colorant, pet spots. Okay. Yeah. So I got you. So you're talking about, like, if you use like a colorant and you didn't rinse it properly. I mean, that should still wear down over time. In other words, if you don't make a practice of that, if you rinse it, you know, most of those colorants don't permanently stain the tank. They don't. I mean, you may get it may lightly darken it, but over time, if you're rinsing it after that, it shouldn't permanently stain the tank, Robert. Shouldn't. So it's up to you. You got your answer. If you have the place to store a second sprayer, then you can, but I would still rinse it anyway. It would bug me to have it be all yucky and gross. So I clean mine up after every use. It only takes a few minutes to do it. Next up is No Name. He says it'll grow laterally instead of up. Yep, that's right, when it comes to growth regulator. And then next up is Greg Lyon. He says, I'm always concerned that when I use a liquid fertilizer that it will evaporate quickly in the hot sun. Well, I wouldn't spray it in the middle of the day. I mean, I guess there are some people that do that, but I tend to spray my liquid fertilizers in the morning. Kind of like what I also do when I do my granulars. I'm trying to think, is there anything that I spray in the middle of the day? There's not a whole lot that comes to mind. Most of my applications tend to be in the morning time frame. So morning or evening, when there's not a lot of wind and not a lot of heat. So what I would say, Greg, is if you spray like a liquid fert, you spray Primo in the morning, you shouldn't have 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. It's going to dry pretty quickly on the plant leaf, on the grass leaf. And you're not gonna lose a lot of it due to evaporation. You know what I mean? It's gonna adhere to the leaf. You're not gonna lose. In other words, losing fertilizer due to evaporation is not something that I would worry about if you're spraying at those times of day. If you're spraying in the morning or in the evening, shouldn't be a real concern. And then Chris Dada says, Greg, apply in the evening for less evaporation. So there you go. Yep. So we great minds think alike. Next up is No Name. He says, let's get those likes up. We have a solid crowd. Yeah, man, I didn't think that many of you guys would hang out. I figured some of you would show up, but I didn't think we'd have 75 people on a Sunday morning. but I guess a lot of you guys are in Georgia or Southeast, and it's raining where you are too. And you figure, hey, let's worse things to do than hang out and chat with Ron about lawn care, right? Richard Taylor is up next. He says, I'm still prepping for my lawn renovation. My soil test was received, and I should be getting my results this week. Okay, so you got your soil test, you sent it out, you should be getting your results back soon. Okay, yeah. After I kill my grass, what is your recommended way to prepare for seed? Yes, so what I would say is you want to use some kind of compost, some kind of rich, you want to give the seed a nice rich bed, a nice rich home to grow in, right? To germinate in. So I'll show you some offerings that we carry on the store, and you can find a compost locally as well if you want to, but as far as like one of the best products for prepping for a renovation, like doing seed or even sod, it's really tough to beat carbonized PN. So I'll show you here really quick. If you go to the golf course lawn store, you go to shop and then the Miramichi green biostimulant section, there's two options. You got Essential G, which is largely compost in a prill form, in a granular form that's easier to spread. And then you've got carbonized PN, which is a soil type product. So this is literally 50% soil, 50% biochar. And if you have a way to spread it, I can actually show you here what it looks like. I think I can show you. Yeah, it's literally like dirt. It's like soil, right? So in order to apply it, you're gonna need a leveling rake or something like this along those lines to be able to move it out on the lawn. You can see when I take a bag and I dump some of it out here on the lawn for this video when I was making it, and you literally just use a leveling rake or lawn lute if you're somewhere else, if you're in Australia or the UK, to work this into the lawn. So it is more work. But this is, as far as an awesome product, this is what I would roll with. Now, if you say, you know what, using a leveling rake, too much work, don't want to do that. What's another option that's easier? You can get some Essential G, which is the granular or prill version of this, and you could use your broadcast spreader to apply this to your lawn. You can see it goes in your spreader, and you can just go heavy. You know, like the application rates for Essential G, if you do it at 8 pounds, it'll be anywhere between 5,000 square feet to 2,000 square feet from one bag, depending on the rate. So if you're doing it as part of a seeding project, I would go heavy, you know, like if you just like with carbonized PN, like a bag of carbonized PN covers like 1,000 square feet. If you're using it, if you're just using it to just introduce some organic material to your soil, but if you're using it for like a preparation work for like a seeding project, or if you're top dressing with it, I would go a lot heavier. So either carbonized PN or Essential G is what I would use. And then outside of that, you know, based on your soil test results, if you can apply a phosphorus product, so something that's going to help the grass root in or encourage rooting. So something like actually go to the fertilizer section. So either like the complete 14714, which has some phosphorus in it, or Miramichi's organic product fertilizer, which is again 444, and that is again purely organic, and it also has some phosphorus in it as well. So I would say Essential G or carbonized PN, and then one of these two, either the 444 or the complete 14714. Something along those lines is what I would do for preparing for a renovation project. Sounds like fun. All right, next up is we have a question here from Mango Stumpy from Instagram. He says, if I top dress the lawn with high compost mix, how long will it take for it to break down? No leveling necessary. It depends. If you look up, you Google like how long does compost last? 12 to 18 months is what you'll see in a lot of the research. The most correct answer is it depends. I'm trying to think of how you would measure that. There probably is a way to measure it, but 12 to 18 months is normally what you can expect. Mango Stumpy. All right, next up is Scott Musgrave. He says, Ron, it's been a while. It's been a long time since I've been able to catch you live. Not really any questions, but just wondering if you've been to Augusta and seen the Masters in person. Thoughts on the grass there? Yes, so I've been to Augusta during the Masters. I was there doing a practice round. I didn't go there during the actual tournament. So I was there on a Wednesday. I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday. One of those days. It was a Tuesday or Wednesday. It was several years ago. And yeah, the grass in person, I will tell you this, the way to think of the grass at Augusta National is imagine the best grass you've ever seen in your entire life. And then it's better than that. So it's like what you see on TV. When you see it on TV, it looks incredible. it does not, TV does not do it justice. I know they maybe use filters and they try and do things to make the grass to really bring that experience to you when you're looking on TV. It's nothing like when you're actually there. Like like the fairways are like they're firm but also pliant. I mean, it's like a perfect blend between firm and soft. I mean, I don't want to say soft. They're not soft, but I mean they're just right. They're just right, and the color is incredible. There's no weeds in sight. I mean, it's just it is like nothing else. It's like no other place I've been. I've been on a lot of golf courses. I have yet to go on a golf course that matches the way the turf at Augusta National looks. There's nothing close to it. Nothing that I've personally seen anyway. I'm sure there are courses out there that have amazing grass. Probably some that are as good, but none that I've come across. None that I've personally seen myself. So if you ever get a chance to go, even if you don't like golf, if you're just like a lawn care nerd, you just want to see some amazing turf, go during a practice round or like a Tuesday or Wednesday, like whenever they have like if they still do the par 3 tournament, like go like earlier in the week. The tickets are a lot cheaper, and just go there just to see the grass because it is something else. It is something else. It's a sight to behold. Joseph Roberts says starting date for Hydrotain, April. Start in April. So you could start here in next weekend. Start next weekend, and the label says, or they say you can apply it lasts for 90 days. I would apply it every 60 days. So every 2 months is when I would do Hydrotain in your lawn. But start next month. You want to have Hydrotain in your soil before temps get really hot. Like you want to have the stuff in your soil prior to when you actually need it, if that makes sense. All right, nothing else in Instagram right now, so we can move on to the next question in the YouTube. Radama says, when is a good time to scarify in West North Carolina? So if by scarifying you mean turf raking, which means gently removing thatch and other debris from your lawn, you could do that now if you wanted to. If you're talking about scarifying by being super aggressive, then one, I wouldn't recommend doing that. But if you're going to do that, and you want the lawn to recover faster, wait till we're further into April, maybe early May, so that the lawn will recover faster from the injury you're going to give it. So, but if you're going to do it the way that I would recommend, which is gently removing the material, so light turf raking, light scarification, you could do that now if you wanted. There's no harm in that. Next up is Archie Amos. He says, morning, young man. I have to read Archie's comments that way all the time. He says, morning, young man. Going to rain in South Carolina in a few minutes. Bummer. So yeah, the rain that was here in Georgia hopefully is heading your way. Let me look outside at the cameras. Let me see. Is it still raining outside? I can look real quick and see. It might. Hopefully looking through my window here. I can see. It looks like it's getting a little bit brighter. But outside it is. Yep, still raining, or it's still wet anyway. Doesn't look like it's raining, but it's still wet. So I might be able to get up there and film a little bit, guys. Yay for that. So you're getting what we just had here in Georgia, most likely, Archie. But it's looking like it's going to be short-lived. So hopefully the same thing happens to you. Papa Mo's Low's up next. He says, it was too windy yesterday to spray. I'll be spraying my Miramichi Green carbon package today. Nice. I like it. Sounds good. And what he's talking about, guys, in case you're wondering, for anyone that's new in the live stream on a Sunday, he's referring to the Miramichi Green Carbon Kit. This is a biostimulant package that I put together with Miramichi Green that encompasses Release Zero, which is a 10% micronized carbon product, along with other nutrients for your soil and plant. NutriKelp, which is a 24% kelp product with 2% micronized carbon, a little bit of nitrogen, a little bit of phosphorus, 4% potassium. So overall, it's a great health booster product for your grass. And then finally, BioSpectrum, which is a microbial package that you can add to your soil as well. So these three all come together in the carbon kit. If you want a version that is the exact same thing, only that except that it has fertilizer, then you can go with the 901C carbon kit, which still has the 10% micronized carbon, only now you get 9% nitrogen, 1% potassium in this product as well. But everything else is exactly the same. The kelp is still the same. The biostimulant is still the same. The only difference is that you can think of Release 901C as Release Zero with fertilizer. That's exactly what it is. Next up is John Rob Will is up next. He says, Sunday Fun Day live Q&A. What a nice surprise. The weather looks great in Maryland, not here in Georgia. Today, it's time to show the mulch beds some love. There you go. Sounds like fun. There you go, John Rob Will. You want to get out there working the mulch beds? Sounds like a plan. I got you. I feel you. Tellerman's up next. He says, cold snap made me sad. I had to renovate the Tiff Tuff and I was the only green in the neighborhood. Now I'm where everyone else is. Ha. Yeah, I mean, so you got a little bit of a setback, but it will bounce back. When it starts greening up, your lawn will likely green up sooner than the other lawns in the neighborhood based on everything you've been doing to it. So if you scalped, you've been putting biostimulants down, like in general, your soil is just healthier. Your lawn should still respond to the conditions better than the other lawns did. Because you think about it, right? Whenever you scalped your lawn and began greening up, like your lawn was seeing the same heat, the same sunlight as your neighbor's lawn, right? But yet it greened up sooner. So even though your lawn maybe took a green hit due to the cold temps we had over the past week or so, once the temps get back to normal, like they are now, where you're in 70s and 80s, your lawn is going to respond better or faster than the neighboring lawns because it's already done it, right? It's already happened once before. It's going to do it again now that conditions are better for the grass to green up and grow. So I wouldn't worry about it. You're likely still going to dominate the neighborhood, but I get it. You want it to be green while everyone else is brown. Now you're just going to be more green when everyone is less green. So you got to take what you can get. Ed Bonet has a question. He says, how long does tenacity last when you're overseeding? I believe it's like 3 weeks, 3 weeks or so. If you're talking about the pre-emergent aspects of tenacity, I believe it's around 3 weeks is, if memory serves me correct. Check the label, but I believe that's right. About 3 weeks is what you can expect from the pre-emergent aspects of tenacity if you're using it prior to a seeding project. All right, Doug350Z with the twin turbo package says, who ordered this rain? I don't know, but hopefully it goes away soon. It's still drizzling out there, but hopefully it will stop here soon so I can get out and film some content. Then next up is Chase Thompson. He says, I just got my first real mower on Friday. Super pumped about getting the yard back to after the horrible drought heat from last year. So we got to clap it up for that. Congrats, Chase, on the new mower. I like it. I dig it. Congrats on the new hardware. It's always a fun addition to the family. Just make sure it's nice and sharp and use it in good health. Use it in good health. All right, Tellorn is up next. He says, I must have mutated POA. I applied Certainty at the large scoop rate in early January and February, gave up in March, but noticed this week it's finally yellowing. Here's the thing you have to realize when it comes to herbicides in general is it's one large scoop over 1,000 square feet when you're targeting POA for Certainty. And if you didn't use surfactant with it, that would help as well. But also, as temperatures get warmer and the grass or the weed that you're targeting starts to grow more aggressively, the herbicide tends to work a bit better too, right? So I'm not surprised that you're starting to see better results now, Tellorn. So like, let's say if you went out today and you sprayed POA with Certainty, you would see that within 10 days, it would begin yellowing. It would start dying off a lot faster than if you spray when temperatures are cooler. It still works in February and January timeframe. It just works a lot slower than it does, whenever temps are, 60s, 70s, 80s out. And also keep in mind too, this time of year, while you can still use Certainty for POA, by mid-May, the POA is going to start dying off pretty quickly because it doesn't like heat, right? POA is a cool season. I mean, you say cool season grass, but it's really cool season weed in my book. So once temperatures start getting hotter, it's going to start dying off just naturally from that as well. So we got Wise190 up next here on Instagram. He says, hey, Ron, I scalped recently and now I've got some erosion. Should I be concerned? No, not really. I mean, how aggressively did you scalp is, I guess, thing one. But also, now that we are starting to get warmer temperatures, Wise 190, the grass will begin growing, and that's going to help hold on to the soil to where you're not going to have as much of an erosion issue. Now, most people that, again, unless you took it down to the dirt, and what I mean by taking it down to the dirt, I mean like the entire lawn is like bare dirt. Like if you're scalping, from 2 inches to 1 inch, you shouldn't run into a bunch of erosion from that because there's still plenty of grass there to hold on to the soil, and you shouldn't have a bunch of washout. What might be happening is you may have always had the erosion and you're just noticing it more now that the cutting height is shorter. But unless you took the entire lawn down to bare dirt, which I would not recommend doing that. Unless that's what you did, you shouldn't be having a lot of erosion due to scalping. So, in answer to your question, no, I wouldn't worry about it. The grass is going to start growing here soon, and any erosion that you may be having should slow down or stop once the grass starts growing in. So, And these, so hope that helps. And then Maestro says erosion or tiger stripes. It might be tiger stripes. That might be it. Yeah. It very might be tiger stripes. So you might see like clumps of grass in the lawn. Like that's more than likely clippings that didn't get picked up as part of the scalping, that whenever you get heavy rain and it, the water's running up, draining off the lawn, the grass tends to bunch up and that creates like the ugly looking clumps of grass, tiger stripes, zebra stripes on the lawn. So hope that helps, Wise One. I would not worry about it. You're going to be just fine. All right, Robert Rainey is up next. He says, thanks, Ron. I played 27 holes yesterday and recovering today. Good Lord, 27 holes, man. You really like golf. That's a lot of golf. Plus, we've had 2 inches of rain here so far. Yeah, so there is that. That will put a damper on your game as far as playing out in the lawn, right? Hopefully you hit him well. Hopefully you shot a good score. Okay, MZC TV is next. He says, how do you feel about Scott's Fertilizer brand on Kentucky Bluegrass? I don't have Kentucky Bluegrass, and I don't use Scott's Fertilizer, so I can't really speak to say how it would perform on KBG. So I can't answer that question. I don't really know. Yeah, I mean, I guess as long as the formulation is correct based on your soil test results, it should work fine. It should be okay. But I don't have any direct experience with Scott's Fertilizer and on Kentucky Bluegrass to be able to say, yeah, you're going to get this result. So I haven't used Scott's Fertilizer I'll tell you, the last product from Scott's that I used that was a fertilizer, they used to have a product, they may still have it. It used to be called something, Green Max? I think it was called Green Max. It's a fertilizer product that had higher amounts of iron in it. That's the last Scott's product that I used, and it's probably been 6-7 years, longer than that. I mean, I used that when I first moved in here in the house. So it's been a long time. It's been 8 years. This is the 8th season of the channel, so it's 8 going on 9 years. So I can't tell you. And I don't have Kentucky Bluegrass, so I don't know how it works on that. But the big thing is, as long as the formulation matches what your soil needs based on your soil test results, it should be okay. But I can't tell you for sure from direct experience. McNasty Motorsports is up next. He says, good morning, Ron, and everyone. I did not expect the Sunday morning pep rally prior to my day of spraying and planting. Nice. Yeah, well, I didn't plan it either. But it started raining really early in the morning, and I wanted to get out and film. So I said, you know what? Whether they want it or not, if only like 2 people show up, I'm still going to sit here and talk about granular versus liquid fertilizer because I've been getting a lot of email on that. So why not just do a live stream really quick and chat about that topic? And lo and behold, 75 of you guys showed up, which is awesome, right? D. Markulis Thompson is up next. He says, good morning, Ron and crew. I got my mowing yesterday, the only fully green turf in the neighborhood. Thanks for the knowledge and products. Awesome. And your work. You gotta remember, so you may have the products on the Golf Course Lawn Store and the knowledge from the YouTube videos, but all that doesn't mean anything if you don't actually do the work. So don't shortcut the fact that you put the work in to get your lawn to where it is as well. We got a super chat. Wow, a super chat on Sunday. That's pretty awesome. Thank you guys so much. One from Mr. Lance F. Thanks, Lance.
Super chat received.
He says, woke up this morning, had no idea you were on. Is this Sunday morning? This is fun to have you on. You guys got rain. Well, we got snow last night. Summer, please. I'm sorry. You know what, Lance? It's always perspective, right? Always a matter of perspective. While having rain on a Sunday morning when I want to be out in the lawn messing around and filming is, kind of irritating. Worse, much worse would be snow on a Sunday morning when I want to be out doing those things. So yes, thank you for giving the perspective that, while I may think it's not great, it could always be worse. So thank you so much for the super chat, sir. There you go. Your name in lights for whatever that means to you. I appreciate it. Hopefully the snow goes away soon for you. Next up is, let me scroll back up and find where I left off, which is right here. Right here is John Pilat. He says, hey, Ron, I live in northern suburbs of Chicago. When should I throw down a Celoprin? I would give it later in April. If you look at the label will say April, really early spring. But so late March all the way through May is when you can apply it. So, but given that you're in Chicago, you're a bit further north than we are, I'm going to be applying mine next weekend, the first part of April. And then you can do if you want to do yours, mid-April, late April, that would be fine too. But yeah, getting it down next month would be good. If you're not going to have, here's the thing, if you're not going to have any snow, if you're pretty sure that you're done with snow in Chicago for the rest of this season, you could do it the same time frame we're doing it. The big thing is I wouldn't want you to go apply it like this next weekend and then, a couple of days later, you guys get a big snowstorm or something. So based on your weather, if you don't anticipate snow in the forecast for the rest of the season, you want to get your preventative insecticide down, you can absolutely do that. If you want to wait till the end of next month or closer to the end of next month, that would be fine too. All right, next is Dimitri. He says, "Good morning, Ron. I like the rainy Sunday. I guess you're saying show. Yeah, man. It's a little bit of rain, so why not get out there and do it?" Okay, BLH says, "Too late for pre-emergent in Gwinnett. It is outside of the optimal time for doing it, but I would still apply it." So if you're asking me, hey, I didn't put down my pre-emergent in February or early March, like when it would have been ideal to do it, should I still apply it now, even though we're in late March? The answer is yes. I would still apply your pre-emergent. It's not going to work as well as had you applied it, 4 weeks ago, but it's still going to be better than if you don't put it down at all. So yes, I would still apply pre-emergent even though it is late March. Jonathan Dawes is up next. He says, "Would you recommend doing weekly spoon feeding between granular applications? Thank you." I've never done that, Jonathan, because that is where, for me, that would start getting into the point where the juice might not be worth the squeeze, right? So I find that a granular once a month and then a liquid, on the 1st and on the 15th, for me, produces a great result. I've not tested, I'm trying to think, I don't think I've ever done, I've done a lot of testing over the years. I don't think I've ever done weekly sprays, liquid sprays. I don't think I've ever done that. If I do, I don't remember it. You guys will tell me in the content if I have or not, but I don't remember doing that. So if it were me, I would just do it every couple of weeks. You could do weekly sprays if you want, but I don't know how much difference you'd really see from doing that. You can give it a shot. Right? I mean, if you have the time to do it and you want to go out and do your liquid sprays every week, and if you're talking about doing everything, so take your monthly amount of granular fertilizer and break that into four applications. So you do one every week and the liquid once every week. I guess you could, but man, it seems like a lot of work. I think that definitely falls into the juice not being worth the squeeze category, in my opinion. I think the granular once per month and the liquid twice a month is a good happy ground, and that produces a great result without being too much work. To where you're basically becoming like a turf care professional because you're out on the lawn every week doing something, unless you just like doing that. But for me, that would take the fun out of it if I had to be out there every single week, spraying liquids or applying granular fertilizer. I love mowing. Like I like mowing more than I like doing anything else. So mowing a couple times a week, every other day, that's no problem. But I wouldn't want to have to get out there and mix up products and have to take, the sprayer out and clean it up when I'm done. That seems like it's not just spraying the products, it's everything else that has to go into that as well. It's like taking it out of the garage, taking it out on the porch, mixing it all up, spraying it, then rinsing everything up, then putting it all back. Like I don't want to do that every single week, especially if there's not going to be a big noticeable difference versus doing it every couple of weeks. All right, next up is Manchester 7. He says, I bought Ron's, the same Earthway spreader, about a year and a half ago. Such a smooth and easy spreader that just glides across the lawn and performs really well overall. So there you go. There's an endorsement for the Earthway 2050P. I don't get paid to say this. Earthway does not say, hey, Ron, make sure you talk about our spreader. It's a spreader that I got, years ago, and I just loved it, and I've kept it ever since. It's a great spreader. And again, there's other ones that are good as well too, but if you ask me which one I would buy, that's the one I would go with. Next up is Jonathan Daza. He says, in regards of applying my pre-emergent, I did a full application last month. I'm located in Los Angeles and I have turf type tall fescue. Should I do another application before the summer heat gets here? I would not. No, if you did a full application last month, you are good. You should not need to apply pre-emergent again until the fall. What I would do instead of doing pre-emergent is I would apply a proper fertilizer to your lawn. I would apply biostimulants to your lawn, but I would not do more pre-emergent. I would not do more pre-emergent. No, especially since you said you did a full application just last month. You don't need to. In other words, pre-emergent is not like fertilizer. It's not like fertilizer. A granular fertilizer works 4 to 6 weeks, depending on formulation. Some of them work a lot longer than that, but in general, the ones that we sell in the store work for about 4 to 6 weeks. Pre-emergent is designed to work for like months on end. So like 4 months, 4 to 5 months, depending on weather, rain, those types of things. But I mean, it's definitely not something you should be putting on your lawn every single month. Pre-emergent really should be twice a year, once in the spring, once in the fall, or if you're doing split applications, you could do like a split app once in late winter, another one in early spring, and then in the fall, your pre-emergent app. But it's not a monthly thing that you should be putting into your lawn. There's no need to do that. It's designed to apply it, and then you get several months of benefit from that single application. Dalvin Larry says, plot twist Sunday live stream. Yeah, there you go. You just never know, right? You never know. Never know, Dalvin. It's not going to be a regular thing, but I'm waiting for the lawn to, it's done raining. I'm sitting here looking at my camera. It's not raining right now, so cool. That's good. And I figured I wanted to chat with you guys about a topic that I've been getting email about, that I'm going to make a video about, but you guys, being the diehards, you get to see and hear it first. Next up is Justin Elizalde. Izalde? I'm not sure. Izalde. I think that's right. Elizalde. Maybe that's about right. We'll see. He says, hey, Ron, I am starting from scratch in Arizona. Sounds like fun. What is the best fertilizer and grass seed? Thank you for everything you do. That is a very difficult question to answer. So as far as the best fertilizer, to know what is the best fit for your lawn, or based on your soil, which you don't have a lawn yet, get a soil test. That will tell you. Now, if you're just starting from scratch, you got a brand new lawn, just bare dirt, there's no grass there at all, which is what it sounds like. Going with a balanced fertilizer, so like, I'll show you a couple of options. Like, here, if you go to the Golf Course Lawn Store, go to Lawn Fertilizer. Going with something like the Complete 14714, which has some nitrogen, some phosphorus, and potassium, or the Miramichi Organic, like this 444. Either one of these two would be a great choice for a fertilizer. Now, as far as grass, it depends on where you are, what kind of grass. I'm not sure where in Arizona you are. Some parts of Arizona, it gets actually fairly cool if you're further up and in higher elevations, and then other parts are like desert, right? So if you are going to do warm season grass, then some kind of Bermuda grass seed or zoysia grass seed, if you're dedicated that you're going to be doing your lawn from seed, then yeah, Bermuda or zoysia would be ones that I would say to look into. If you're going to be doing cool season grass, then rye, Kentucky bluegrass, a fescue. It just depends on your climate. So to also help with that, Justin, so as far as fertilizer, you got your answer for that one. And I'll actually send you a link here to that in the show, in the live stream. So at Justin, there's your link to the fertilizers. So that should get you on that. And as far as what grass, we've got a blog post here that I can show you as well. So if you go to the Golf Course Lawn Store and go to blog, I think it's still on page 1. It talks about, here we go. Which grass is best suited to my area? So it talks all about grass by region: Northeast, Midwest, Pacific Northwest, Southeast, Deep South, and Gulf Coast. So it talks about different grass types, which ones are good based on where you are. So take a look at this as well. I'll put a link to this in the chat, and this will give you some ideas if you live in an area where you've got multiple options. So there you go. There is that one as well. So hope that helps. You got fertilizer options, and then you've got something you can read as far as, grass types and what are the pros and cons, and that as far as that goes, based on where you are in the country. Tom V is up next. He says, hey, Ron, sorry about the rain out. It's temporary. It's only going to be for the morning time. He says, for PGR, what conditions should exist to start for the season? Any risk to doing PGR too early? Thanks for all your help. Well, I would want the lawn to be greening up or to be greened up before you start spraying growth regulator on it. Like, I would not spray growth regulator on a dormant lawn. And as far as in general, I would say when the lawn is green, when you're out mowing it, you can start using growth regulator on it. So in the Southeast, the first part of May, so late April, early May is when when the window for us opens up. If you're in Florida, you'd already been spraying growth regulator. So if you're in the Tampa, south of I-4, that area where it stays hot for the most part year round, you're spraying growth regulator the entire time. But if you're asking for a lawn that goes to dormancy, when I would begin using it is when the lawn's out of dormancy and you're mowing it regularly. That is when you can introduce growth regulator. And especially if you're doing it the way that I recommend, which is the split application program, so you're putting it down at half that monthly rate. If you started like mid-April, that would be fine too. But you want the lawn just to be growing. You want it to be green. You don't want to be spraying growth regulator on dormant grass. All right, next up is Kay Ward. He says, no rain here, just working. I hear you. And then Jason Harrison says, I'm just painting my stairwell. 3-year-old found markers. That sounds like fun. I mean, the 3-year-old with markers says, listening to lawn care chat is keeping me calm. Well, I mean, you don't remember when you were a 3-year-old, but I mean, I guess they could be doing worse things. They're not playing with like electrical outlets or power equipment or things like that. They just have markers, right? So there are worse things than them playing with markers. As long as they're using the markers on paper and not on the wall that you're trying to paint or the stairwell that you're trying to paint, it's happy days, right? Richard Taylor says, thanks for the help, Ron. I hope everyone has a blessed day. Thank you so much, Richard. Appreciate that. We got a super chat from Kevin Gaines. Thank you for the super chat, Kevin. Appreciate you. Or Kevin Grimes. I'm sorry, Kevin Grimes. Thank you for the super chat, for the love and support. I appreciate that. And next up, we have Simon Amaral says, how soon after I apply pre-emergent can I apply fertilizer? You could do them on the same day if you wanted to. There'd be no problem with doing that. Pre-emergent, it's like pre-emergent fungicide, fertilizer. They're different products. They're designed to solve different problems in your lawn. So you could put down a pre-emergent in the morning, and then you could spray fertilizer. You could literally put down your pre-emergent in the morning and do fertilizer right afterwards. Here's what I would do if it were me. So let's say you're going to be spraying prodiamine, right? And you're also going to be doing a granular fertilizer. So you're putting down humic max. If it were me, I would put down the granular fertilizer first, and then I would spray the pre-emergent afterwards. The reason being is this: you're not putting down pre-emergent and then you're just walking all through the lawn that you just sprayed herbicide on, putting down fertilizer, because then you're going to get pre-emergent literally all over your spreader and yourself, and you're just walking through stuff you just sprayed. So I wouldn't do that. If it were me, I would leave the pre-emergent for the last thing that I did. I would spray your I would do your granular fertilizer first, and then do your liquids to include pre-emergent afterwards. So that way when you're done, you're off the lawn, you're just watering the pre-emergent in, which is good. Exactly what you want to do, right? You're able to water the pre-emergent in and also water the fertilizer that you just sprayed in as well. So let me think about this a bit though. The only caveat to that would be if you are spraying, say, a liquid fertilizer like 901C or Turfplex, so like a foliar one that's taken up by foliar uptake. In that case, you would not want to water those fertilizers in right after application. So in that case, you'd want to break it up. You could do your pre-emergent in the morning and water that in, and then once the lawn dries, you could go back out and then spray your fertilizer, say, in the evening if you wanted to. Or you could do the pre-emergent like this morning, and then tomorrow morning you could go and spray the liquid fertilizer if you're dealing with one that is not that is a foliar-based product, because you wouldn't want to go out while you can. Here's the thing: while you technically can mix the fertilizer with the pre-emergent, you're compromising in one of two ways, because the pre-emergent works best if you spray it with a larger droplet size. So meaning like a flood jet tip that looks like this, something like this, right? Whereas a tip like this is not ideal for spraying foliar-based products. You want to use like a finer droplet size. So if you're doing it right, you're going to want to spray the pre-emergent separately than a foliar-based fertilizer, and you would not want to water the foliar-based fertilizer in immediately after application. So for that reason, I would do the pre-emergent, water it in, and then do your foliar afterwards. Or you could spray your fertilizer today, wait till tomorrow, and then spray your pre-emergent and then water that in. So as long as you spray the foliar fertilizer, allow it to dry, you're good to go. So that's the only caveat that popped in my mind when I was thinking about how I answered that question. All right, JL is up next. He says, Augusta is my standard. What kind of grass is it? I believe the base grass in Augusta is Bermuda, believe it or not. But what you see during the Masters is rye. So it's a Bermuda course, but they overseed the entire thing with ryegrass in anticipation of the Masters, which is partly why the Masters is held in April, because that's when ryegrass looks best, looks awesome then. You'll remember during COVID, whenever they had the Masters, it was in October, like the year when they didn't do it when the normal time they had to do it in October. The course still looks great, but it looked different than it normally did compared to the springtime. So if memory serves me, it is a Bermuda, like the base grass is Bermuda, but what you see during the Masters is it overseeded with ryegrass. So hope that helps. All right, next up is Chase Thompson. He says, that's true. I'm working in the Valero Open, and the course yesterday and the turf on the PJ course is unbelievable. Yeah, the turf on most golf courses is awesome compared to residential lawns. I mean, there's a night and day difference. But then again, if you look at like most golf courses, and again, there's some that have great looking turf as well too. But most golf course turf, like you take your city course, your municipal course, like the level of grass on that, while better than what you'll find on like 90% of residential lawns, if you go compare the turf on a course like that and then compare it against Augusta National, like Augusta National is another level up. It's like another standard compared to most golf courses, mainly because they have more money they would know what to do with, right? And it only has to look nice for the Masters, right? So you think about most courses, they don't get, Augusta doesn't get the wear and tear and the use that a lot of other golf courses does. And the general public really sees it during the Masters. So they're able to, they're bringing this army of people, and again, they got tons of money, and they can put all this effort into making the course look incredible for this week-long period. This week out of the year, they can make it look perfect. You know what I mean? So it's not really fair comparing Augusta against courses that get lots of golf played on them all throughout the year. But it's still the best, right? In my opinion, it's still the best. If you still look at if you still compare Augusta to other courses, it is like another level better than what you're gonna find on most golf courses. So, but they also have an unfair advantage. They only have to look good for a short period of time, and they have more money than they know what to do with, and really good people working on the course. So, so that there is that too. But it's mainly money. They have a lot of money they can spend to make it look the way it looks. All right, Timothy Wolf is up next. He says, hi, Ron, and good morning. If your pH is on the high side but still in range, is there anything to bring it down? If it's on the high side but it's still within that 6 to 7 range, I wouldn't worry about it. Like that range is the Goldilocks zone. It doesn't have to be dead on 6.5. Like if it's 6.9 or even right at 7, and if it's conversely if it's at like 6.1, you're fine. There's not a whole lot that I would really worry about it. If anything, when your pH is higher, the salts that's in a lot of fertilizer tends to have an acidifying effect on the soil, so that can help lower pH over time. So there's not much I would do about it. If it's not like 7.3 or above, I really wouldn't do a whole lot to it. If it's really bothering you where you're losing sleep, you can apply a sulfate. You can use that. You can use a sulfur to help lower it. But if it were me, Timothy, I really wouldn't worry about it. I would just fertilize your lawn and enjoy it. I wouldn't make an adjustment just because the levels tend to be, they're on the higher end of the acceptable range. It's still within the acceptable range. All right, Timothy has another question or comment. He says, also, if leveling, should I just use straight sand or a mixture? Bermuda yard established for 3 years. I'm a fan of using a mixture. I've done all three. I have done for leveling, I've done straight sand. I've also done a blend, a 70-30 mix. And I've also done just straight compost on my lawn just to introduce organic material. I'm a fan of using a blend of sand and compost because the sand adds structure. It does what you're after as far as the leveling part of the job of smoothing out the bumps in the lawn. And then the compost introduces organic material. So I'm a fan of doing a blend if at all possible. If you don't have access to a blend or a way to easily do that, and you want to do straight sand for the leveling, that's fine too. What I would say then is if you can get some kind of granular biostimulant product or organic product like Essential G, and just go heavy on that before you do the leveling work, that can work as well too. But there are people that just use straight sand and they get a great result, and you can use straight sand and get a great result. But while you're out there doing all that work, why not also put a bit of organic material into the soil as well? Especially since it's not gonna hurt the leveling. It's not like the leveling is gonna be less bad if you're using like a 70-30 blend versus like 100% sand. It's not that you're gonna notice anyway. So hope that helps, Timothy. If you want to use straight sand, that's all you got, that's fine. Just get down some compost, Essential G, whatever you can get your hands on. Go down really heavy with that prior to doing your leveling, and you'll be good to go. Next up is Paul Tavares. He says, or Paul Travers, I think. He says, "Hi Ron, do soil temps have to reach a certain level in order to apply biospectrum? I am located in Southern Mass." No, not really. You can, whenever you're spraying liquids on your lawn, outside of fungicides, and Miramichi will even tell you can spray fungicides with it as well too. It just doesn't work as well. But outside of fungicides, if you're spraying liquids on your lawn, you can mix biospectrum along with it. So that's a great way to answer your question. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever applied biospectrum just by itself. I've always mixed it along with something else. I mean, so I'm either spraying Release Zero or 901C or liquid fertilizer or something like that. It's always being mixed along with something else that I'm spraying on my lawn. So if you're out right now spraying your lawn with biostimulants like the carbon kit or fertilizer or whatever you're doing, then yes, you can by all means throw biospectrum in the tank. It's not going to hurt anything at all. Okay, next up is Jonathan Daza. He says, "I have POA in my turf type tall fescue. Yikes, that's a hard problem to solve." He says, "Should I just wait until summer for it to die out? I am located in Los Angeles. What can I use now to spot spray to kill them before this summer?" There's not an easy way to remove. To answer your question, I would the latter, or sorry, the former is what I would say. You can either just wait for it to die out in the summer. You can pull it. There's that. But there's not an easy way to get rid of POA. Like you can use Primo to suppress POA seed heads to where it doesn't look, it's not as ugly looking. So it's still in the lawn, but you're not going to notice it as much. So that's one use for Primo Max. It's actually a use that's on the label for suppressing Poanua seed heads. So it's gonna look like green, like bluegrass. It's gonna look like green grass in your lawn. But you're not going to have the white seed heads that make it look really ugly in your lawn. So you can use Primo for that, or you can just wait for it to die out. But there's not really an easy way to remove POA that is labeled for use on residential lawns. Like there's a product called, I think Devin or Demir was testing it out on his golf course, called POA Cure. And that is you're supposed to be able to spray that on, you're supposed to be able to spray that to keep POA out of cool season turf. But I'm not sure where that is as far as if it's even available as yet. One, I know he was testing it, so I'm not sure if the results they got with it were good enough that the product's going to go into use. And then second, I don't know if it's at this point labeled for use on residential lawns as yet, Jonathan. So sorry I don't have a better answer for you. You can use Primo as a means to suppress POA seed heads, so you're not going to really notice it as much. And then, as to your point, when it gets warmer, it's going to die off when the temps get higher. I must have missed your question. Archie says, "Must have missed my question about worm tea. Your thoughts and benefits." I think I missed it, Archie. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Worm tea. I don't know what that is. I don't know what worm tea is. My thoughts and benefits. So I will research it. That'll be a good, cool research topic for next Friday's live stream, because I'm not sure what the benefits of that are. I don't know. So I'll look into it and I'll get you an answer, Archie. Next up, Timothy Wolf says, "Hey Ron, love to be your neighbor." I don't know, man. You say you want to be my neighbor. You might not. I mean, there's a lot of pressure that goes into that, especially if you care about your lawn. Because when I'm out mowing, you're gonna feel like, I gotta get out there and mow because he's out mowing his lawn, and I don't want my lawn to look not as nice as that one. So there's a lot of pressure that goes along with that, Timothy. You got to be careful. I don't know if you want that. I mean, Alex is Alex is down. Like he's down to for the challenge. He's been matching me blow for blow as far as his lawn. So if you're like Alex, then yeah, it's not that big a deal. If you're not like Alex, and it might be kind of annoying. He says, "I'd love to be your neighbor. Let me know when Alex is ready to sell his house." I'll tell you what, I'll let you know. I'll let you know when Alex has got his house up for sale. Hopefully not anytime soon, because they're really awesome neighbors. So hopefully they're not going anywhere anytime soon. But if it goes up for sale, I'll let you know. All right. Kevin Grimes says, "Any thoughts on preventing and eradicating doveweed that has grown through the winter and is still there now?" So I have used, I'm trying to think how effective pre-emergent. I'm not sure if prodiamine is very protective, is effective against doveweed. Let me look at the label here really quick, and I'll tell you. As far as getting rid of it, I'm assuming you got warm season grass, and assuming warm season grass, you can use a couple things. You can use blindside. You can use Celsius. Celsius will do it, but you got to spray it at the higher application rates, and it may take more than one round to get rid of it. Doveweed is kind of a pain, and I'm trying to see here if prodiamine is labeled for doveweed. Let me see. Let us see what says the what says is the label. I don't think so. There's one of them that's not. Yeah, I don't see doveweed on the label for prodiamine. I don't see that. So yeah, but as far as how to get rid of it, Celsius at high rates, Blindside will also do it as well. If you're in a state where you can actually get it, because Blindside is kind of it's not available in a bunch of. There's a lot of states where you can actually buy it. And let me look and see if dithiopyr is labeled for doveweed, for branding doveweed. Let us see. Let us see. It doesn't look like it's on the label for prodiamine, and the label for dithiopyr doesn't say it, doesn't have it on there as well. Doesn't have it on there as well. Yeah. So yeah. I don't. In my case, I had a little bit that came from the neighbor's lawn, Kevin, that I was able to use Celsius surfactant against, and that was able to take care of it. But as far as, I'll have to look into that. It's a good question. It's a good research question as far as what you can use to help prevent doveweed. I don't have a lot of problems with it, but the little bit that I did have that came across from my neighbor, I got rid of with Celsius. So good question. I'll look into that and see if I can get an answer for you for next week's live stream. Good one. Next up is Melvin Otta. He says, how long? He says, hey Ron, how long do I have to wait after? How long do I have to wait for seeding if I've already applied pre-emergent to my lawn? I have common Bermuda. 4 months. 4 months is what I would say. 4 months minimum before. If you care about getting good germination, you can try it. You can just keep throwing seed at it, and you will get some of it to germinate. But as far as getting a good result where it doesn't grow in really splotchy and look like a patchwork, then 4 months, at least 4 months, assuming you were using prodiamine or dithiopyr. So it's going to be later in the season, is what I'm trying to say, Melvin. It's not going to be next month. Could we have a comment here from the Maestro? It says, recommendations for low-cost aeration in Gwinnett. No truck, and my neighbors grow weed salads. So renting and splitting the cost isn't an option. I don't know, man. I haven't. The only time I've had a service aerate my lawn is when it was being done as part of top dressing. So they did this part as a package. So I don't have any recommendations for you on who does aeration services in Gwinnett, in the Gwinnett area. There should be. I mean, what you'll find in most neighborhoods, especially if it's neighborhoods with nicer lawns, you'll start seeing signs being placed outside like the neighborhood entrance saying, for aeration, core aeration, call so-and-so or call this number. So you can just look into it. What I would say is this: look into some of the lawn care services in your area. Some of them, while they may not advertise it, a lot of them will do aeration for you. You mean that you can call them out and they'll aerate a lawn. I don't know what low cost. I mean, what's going to cost to do it? I would imagine. I mean, it depends on the size of your lawn, but $100, between $75 to $100 is what I would expect to pay, depending on the size of your lawn and how hard it is to get to, and if it's sloped or anything like that. But I would start with local lawn care services and see what they have to offer and go from there, since you can't rent one for yourself. Next up is Jim Carson. Jim from California. He's saying, good morning. Morning, Jim. I know it's definitely morning where you are. But yeah, thanks for coming to come out and say hi in the live stream. And then Justin says, thank you. I appreciate it. You're very welcome, Justin. And we are winding down on questions and comments because it's not really a planned show. So we're already gone for, I don't know, almost an hour. I think an hour now already, or maybe, well, it's already noon, so more than an hour. All right, anyway, so next up is Gary Freeman. He says, let me see. So no, Kevin Grimes says, I have a doveweed issues. Any thoughts on preventing it from eradicating it and preventing it from returning? I have heard hit it with Celsius and then apply Spectacle pre-emergent in May. Any thoughts? That's a good point. Let me look at Spectacle Flow. Maybe Spectacle Flow is labeled for doveweed. The problem with Spectacle is it's an excellent pre-emergent, but Spectacle, but as far as spraying it in the springtime, it can be, depending on the rate you spray it at, it can stunt your grass coming in. It can slow down green up is what I'm trying to say, which is why you don't normally see it being used this time of year. You see it more in the fall time. Let's see what says. Yeah, Spectacle Flow. It is labeled for doveweed. There it is on the label. So Spectacle is labeled for that. So what I would say is this, Kevin, instead of doing it now, because I don't have dove weed in my lawn, and I use and Spectacle is what I sprayed in the lawn last year, and it makes sense because the neighbor last year didn't do any kind of pre-emergent because they just moved in, and that's likely what they had why they had some dove weed later on in the season that I had to get rid of. So what I would say is this: I would not spray Spectacle Flow now. I would spray it in the fall. I would spray it in the fall. That should be enough. Kind of like how it's like one application is typically enough to keep POA out of your lawn. If you spray Spectacle in the fall, that should do enough for keeping doveweed out of your lawn as well. I wouldn't, if you spray it now, it's you know, you might see a little bit of a setback in your lawn greening up is the only thing I would say. If you want to, you can, but the thing is, it's not going to do a whole lot for the doveweed that's already here. Like the doveweed that's already here, you got to get rid of with like Celsius or some other post-emergent, right? To prevent it, you want to prevent it like from even becoming a thing, and the time to do that looks like it's in the fall. So Spectacle would be the one that I would use for that. And it's also good for POA as well too. So there is that. Gary Freeman says, morning everyone, what's going on, Gary? Next up is Jim Carson. He says, question, backyard renovation. I did Roundup and Prodiamine 65. Okay. How long after post-emergent should I rototill the yard for sod to install the Tiff Tuff? So if you did Roundup and Prodiamine and the lawn's dead, so the I guess whatever you're trying to kill off is already gone. Up 3 weeks later, especially since you're using sod, you're not trying to grow this from seed. You could go out and you could install your sod. If it were me, what I would have, if we had a time machine, what I would have done is I would have gotten rid of the existing weeds or grass, whatever you got in your lawn, and then I would have just installed the sod. I would have waited on the Prodiamine if it were me, but we're already here. But so yeah, if the existing lawn is dead and it's been 3 weeks since the glyphosate was put in, was sprayed, and you want to go and do the sod now, you can absolutely do that. Just make sure, like anything else, make sure it's watered, and the sod is going to be better than seed from a standpoint of, pre-emergent should not kill your sod. In other words, the Prodiamine that you put in there, while that will prevent grass seed from rooting in, your sod should be okay. Especially if it's like a Bermuda, it should tolerate that just fine. If we had to do it all over again, I would have held off on the Prodiamine and just done post-emergent to get rid of the weeds or grasses you were trying to get rid of before the renovation. So next is, but the answer is 3 weeks. 3 weeks. The next up I would say is Jim Carson. He says, nope, not Jim. It's Jamar McKinney. He says, I ordered the carbon kit last year. I have yet to use it. Why? Why would you get it and not use it? I don't understand that. Jamar, come on, man. He says, when can I apply the FERT after the carbon kit? Is it okay to take to use Carbon Pro G as well as the carbon kit? Yes. So Carbon Pro G is a granular product. You can apply that this morning, and you can spray the carbon kit literally right afterwards if you wanted to. No problem at all. As far as fertilizer, same answer. If it's liquid fertilizer, you can mix it along with the carbon kit. So I'll show you here really quick. If you have the golf course lawn carbon kits, you have this. You can literally mix turf. You can mix Turfplex with it. You can mix Bloomplex with it. You could mix the Greens Plus with it. You can mix any of these fertilizers along with that and spray it. There's no problem with doing that at all, Jamar. And let me see if there's any other parts of your question. And yeah, so yeah, sure, good to go. So you can do the granular carbon product and the carbon kit on the same day within an hour of each other if you wanted to. And then as far as fertilizer, if you're doing if it's a liquid fertilizer, you can mix it in with the carbon kit and spray it. If it's a granular fertilizer, what I would do is I would do your granulars first. So I would do the Carbon Pro G, do your granular fertilizer, and then the last thing I would do is the carbon kit. So do your liquids last. Next up is Diamond Shorty says, Sunday live. Yeah, it's just, here's the thing, Diamond Shorty. I wanted to answer a question that's going to be answered it rained again. Dang it, it started raining again. I wanted to film. I should be out in the lawn right now filming a piece of content that I wanted to go live this evening. But Mother Nature had other ideas. So instead of that, I am saying I took the content and just put it in like live stream format, and I am putting it out for you guys. You guys can, there's 70 or 80 of you guys here that are hanging out in the show. You guys get to have the answer. And because I've been getting questions around granular versus liquid fertilizer, and I always say the best answer is both. it's easier to, versus like writing the same email over and over and over again, or responding to the same comment over again. I just made a video on it. So that's why I'm doing this now. And since it was raining, I decided just to live stream really quickly. Okay, you have a question. He says, what's the best method of resodding ball spots in Tifway 419? So instead of resodding, it depends. If all you care about is just getting the grass in that ball spot as quickly as possible, and you don't care that it matches the existing grass perfectly, then just rake it, break the surface a little bit, get some sod and put it down, and away you go. Water it and it'll root in and it'll grow in. If you want the ball spot to match your existing lawn and be absolutely certain that it is going to match, I would not get Tifway 419 sod. I would get a plugger and plug the area with grass from your existing lawn. That way you're ensured that it's going to match perfectly. So it really depends on you. If you take the introducing sod approach, there's a chance that it's not going to match the existing grass once it grows in, but it's faster. If you take the plugging approach, taking like a pro plugger and plug your lawn with your existing grass, that is going to take longer. It's going to be a slower process, but then you're guaranteed that it's going to match. It's going to match your lawn exactly if you were to go do that. And if you want a pro plugger, know what I'm talking about, you can pick one of those up right here. I'll put this in the chat here for you really quick at Diamond Shotties. There you go. That's a pro plugger. You can get that. I'll get that on Amazon. And that's really the way that I would lean towards if it were me. And if you really care about the turf matching, you care about the color matching perfectly. All right, next up we have Mazama Blue. He says, good Sunday. What's better for soil health, liquid or granular? Well, it depends. It depends. The best answer is it depends. In the fall, we'll remove my fescue and replant with Kentucky bluegrass. We'll still need to maintain the appearances till the fall. Want to get the soil ready for the new seed. What I would do then is use a granular, because what you find is the granular products is like, you take something like Essential G. You've got compost and you've got biochar in that, and the biochar stays resident in the soil for a really long time. Like, it doesn't really go away. And the liquids, while you could use something like Essential, like Release Zero, which has micronized carbon in it, that's not going to stick around as long as like Carbon Pro G or Essential G, something that has like a biochar component. So if it were me, for soil health, there are benefits to both. There's benefits, or for overall plant health, there's benefits to using both of them. If what you really care about is the soil and like getting the soil in as good shape as you possibly can for this project that's coming up in the fall, I would go with Essential G Mazama Blue. So I would get wrong section. I would go to the biostimulant section of the golf course lawn store, and I would just get Essential G and just load up on this. I would go heavy on this every month leading up until the fall, because this is going to stay resident in the soil. With this, you're going to be putting in the soil compost, biochar, reclaimed coffee grounds. There's tons of benefits to it, other than just the quick benefits that you get from the liquid biostimulant products. You think about like NutriKelp, great product. It's also got some carbon in it as well. But the kelp that's in that, while it does improve soil quality, it's also about improving the current grass, the current crop of the current plant that you got in your lawn. If you're telling me that you want to get rid of, you're going to be getting rid of that soon, and you can only choose between one or the other. I mean, the best answer is both. But if you can only do one or the other, with the goal of getting the soil in as good shape as possible for the fall renovation, I would lean towards Essential G. If you can do both of them, that is what I would do. You could do Essential G and the carbon kit. That would be great. But if you can only choose one, given that the fall is your focus and getting the soil as good soil as possible is your focus, then Essential G is what I would do, because it sticks around. It stays resident. All right, next up is Sean Sands. He says, I'll do it, aeration job. I got a few lined up in Snellville, Georgia. So you go. So whoever that was, the maestro, there's someone named Sean Sands in the YouTube live stream that says they'll do aeration. So, and they're in Snellville. Snellville's not that far. I think Snellville is Gwinnett, isn't it? I think. So yeah, so ask, you guys can link up or talk or chat. They can, if you can join the chat, the live stream, he'll be able to give you his information and be able to get that done. Glenn Jordan is chiming in. He says spectacle flow applications applied before May 15th also works well for doveweed prevention. Also, tower pre-emergent is labeled for doveweed. Thank you for that, Glenn. I appreciate that. Appreciate it. You must be someone that, like a professional applicator that's hanging out in the live stream. So we appreciate your presence. And great. Yeah. So spectacle earlier, again, using it, I guess, in the fall or just using it earlier in the season. And then you're saying tower is also labeled for taking care of doveweed. Cool. Appreciate that, man. Thanks. And Mazama Blue says, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you as well. Lance F says, what's the best way to kill moss in your lawn? So there are products you can use for it. There's like a product called Moss EX, I think from Scott's. You can use dish soap like Dove and water that will knock moss back. I think iron, like an iron application, will also damage or kill moss. But the thing I would figure out as well, Lance, is ask yourself, why do you have moss in your lawn? So while there are products that can kill moss, a better approach long term to keep moss out of your lawn is to figure out what the conditions are that's causing moss to be a problem in the first place. I'm also looking for a blog post that I have that talks about that topic to give you. That talks about that as well, and fix that. So, because moss tends to like a couple things. It tends to like more acidic soil. It likes really shaded areas, and it likes damp areas of your lawn. So if you can fix those three things, if your soil is acidic, fix your soil pH, get your pH up. If you have an area that is damp, that, you know, whenever it rains, it doesn't drain and just, it gets stays kind of just really muggy or muddy, improving the drainage will help with that. And if you have an area that doesn't get a lot of sunlight, combined with those other two things, if anything you can do to get more sunlight in that area is going to help with moss, with not having moss in your lawn. But to also help, you need some other tips as well, and it also has links to herbicides that you can or products you can use to get rid of moss. I've got a link here to a blog post that I'll show you really quick. So let me go back. We did this. Yep. So on page 2, I think page 2 of the blog section of the Golf Course Lawn Store, you've got a section here on how to get rid of moss in your lawn. So the very question the answer to your question. It talks about what moss is, what causes it. You know, the soil test portion in here is what I was talking about your soil being acidic, and ways to get rid of it using some natural approaches. And other options, like it shows using their Miramichi organic, like that will also kill moss. It's a non-selective product, so that's the only thing you have to be careful with this guy, is that you want to this will kill moss, but you don't want to spray this on your lawn, because it'll also kill your grass too, because it's a non-selective herbicide. So I will give you a link to this at Lance F. That is the blog post, and then you can also use that product from Scott's as well. That's like a moss, I think it's called Moss EX. That will work against moss as well. But I would encourage you to try and figure out what the conditions are that are causing the problems with moss in your lawn in the first place, and correct that, because that way you're not going to be continuously having to fight moss. Almost like what gets rid of weeds in your lawn, post-emergent herbicides. Like if you have like crabgrass in your lawn, what'll kill crabgrass, what'll kill spurge? You can use Celsius for that, right? But a better way is to prevent them from being a problem in the first place with pre-emergence. So it's the same thing with moss. Preventing it in the first place is better than having to use after the fact or curative products to get rid of it. Okay, next up is Henry Jones Photography. He says, how often can you drop Celsius and Certainty mixed? I sprayed about a month ago. I will send you an image of what I'm seeing to make sure it's good for it or not. I think it's POA. Okay, so if it's POA, you don't need to use Celsius. You just need to use Certainty. Just Certainty with surfactant is all you need for POA annua. Don't waste Celsius by spraying POA with it. As far as how often to spray it, I would give it at least 3 weeks between applications. If you sprayed it properly at the correct rates and you use surfactant, you really shouldn't have to do multiple applications to get rid of the weed you're targeting. Outside of doveweed, which can take more than one application, most cases Celsius is a one and done. Same thing for Certainty, it's a one and done. Assuming you're mixing it at the correct rates and you're using surfactant with it, like a single application should do a really good job cleaning up the weeds that you're targeting. And again, if it's POA annua, I would only use Certainty. Don't use Celsius. There's no reason to waste an expensive herbicide on something that is not really labeled to take care of. Lindsay Butler says, good morning, everyone. Nice to have a Sunday show. Ron, look out for an email. I will look out for one. No worries. I can do that. And next up, we have Thermo Logo. He says, do you know how to take care of a football and soccer fields? Sorry for my ignorance. It's still turf, so it's the same rules apply to a football or soccer field that would apply. I mean, it's still grass, right? So if it's a Bermuda soccer field or a ryegrass soccer field, the same practices that you would apply to a lawn, to a home lawn, you could apply to a football or soccer field. Some things you're going to want to do as well as means of relieving compaction or managing the firmness of the field. That's important. So you don't want those fields to be too soft or also too hard. So that's something you got to consider when it comes to professional turf fields. But as far as soil tests, as long as fertilization, as far as mowing, it's all the same. It's still grass. Like grass doesn't know that it's growing on a soccer field versus knowing that it's growing in your lawn. On a football or soccer field, you've got access to products that are labeled for that you can use on those types of areas that you cannot use on residential lawns. So certain herbicides you can use on soccer fields and football fields that you can't use on residential lawns. Certain fungicides, same thing, you can use them on soccer fields that you can't use on residential lawns. So you have access to more products if you're taking care of that. But as far as at a macro level, it's the same thing. Get a soil test done, fertilize your lawn based on those soil test results, and mow it a lot. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what it's going to take to keep turf on those areas looking good. Depending on how, a soccer field or football field this wouldn't apply to, but like on golf courses, one big difference between golf courses than residential lawns is they tend to use fungicides a lot more frequently than we do, largely due to the low cutting heights that they maintain the turf at. Like a lot of like fairways are at like half an inch or just under, and that introduces a lot of stress, which can cause or can make the turf more susceptible to disease. Soccer fields and football fields tend to be higher than that. They're not cut quite that short, so you shouldn't need to run a big fungicide program in a soccer or football field that you would on a golf course. So again, not to beat a dead horse, but along the lines of what you would do on a well manicured residential lawn, like 90% of that is going to apply to a football or soccer field as well. So it just means everything's just going to be bigger. So the volumes are going to be bigger. So if you're a good example, so Thermolago, if you were going to go and spray, say a football pitch using let's say the carbon kit, what I would say is do not go buy this. This is not going to work. Like this is the volumes are too small. In your case, you're going to be buying these products individually. Like you're going to be buying Release Zero or Release 901C individually, NutriKelp individually, and BioSpectrum individually. Let me get over here to this, have all of them up here. You're going to be buying each of these guys individually in 2.5 gallon jugs because that makes more sense for a football size field. You're going to be buying BioSpectrum in the 17 ounce because the 17 ounce container of this will treat up to 4 to 5 acres, depending on how you apply it. But the only thing that really happens that's different is the scale. So instead of buying a gallon, you're going to buy 2.5 gallon jugs. And instead of buying BioSpectrum, the small amount, you're going to buy the bigger one. Really, you could use Essential G on a football field or a soccer pitch, but really, that's when you start getting into like the super sacks, right? You start getting into these big boys here, which if you are taking care of a soccer field, you have somewhere where you can store 2,000 pounds. You have somewhere you can store a bag that big, you know what I mean? And if you do, you have a shed to keep that, then this is a more economical way of being able to also do granular biostimulants on the football pitch or a soccer field. That's, again, more economical than buying individual bags of the product. So the same approach would apply. It's just the scale is just bigger. Like the amount of product you're going to be buying and using is going to be bigger. So hope that helps. And if you want some guidance, there is we've got like our blog section on the store. There's tons of topics on here that will help on from growth regulator to mowing. There is the new lawn care schedule as well that was recently released. So this guy, if you look at a lot of this, like a lot of the what's discussed for spring lawn care, this would apply to a football pitch in the spring months. When it comes to a month-by-month product application schedule, so this down here, now you may not be scalping it, but as far as doing a soil test, using pre-emergent to keep weeds away, doing Essential G, doing the carbon kit, like all this stuff would apply. You're just going to be you doing it at scale. You know what I mean? The scale of it's just going to be a lot bigger. So I will, if you want, I'm going to put a link to this in the chat that you can read through that annual guide. And then at the bottom of it, like in the menu at the bottom, there's going to be the month-by-month breakdown of what I would do. So let me see. It is at Thermo logo. And there is this lawn care schedule. And feel free to share that with anyone else. You know what? While I'm there, I may as well also pin that as a comment so people watch it later, because I don't have any comments right now. So we'll pin that guy. Boom. So there you go. It's at the top of the comment window if you guys are watching this after the fact. Okay, next up is Myra. There's no questions or comments in the Instagram, so we are winding down. He says, hi, Ron. Thanks for all you do. When is the best time to start a Bermuda grass from seed in North Carolina? Any additional tips would be appreciated. Raining here too. Thanks. So what I would say, Myra, is that growing Bermuda grass from seed is literally hard mode. It is much harder. It's much more challenging to grow Bermuda grass from seed than it is to do it from sod. So if at all possible, if your budget will permit, I would say take the sod approach versus seed. If you really say, nope, I want to do seed, that's what I want to do, then you want to, most Bermuda grass seeds perform best whenever soil temps are in the mid 60s and trending higher. So like 65 degrees or warmer is when you're going to get better germination with Bermuda grass seed. So you said you're in North Carolina, so your climate's similar to what we have here in Georgia. I would not want to do a renovation project with Bermuda grass seed before like late April, early May, like early May timeframe when it's consistently warmer. That is when I would consider doing a renovation project with Bermuda grass if you're growing it from seed. If I've convinced you to do sod, then you could do that now if you wanted to. You could get rid of your existing grass and do sod, and away you go. The reason why is that most people look at Bermuda grass seed and say, oh, this bag of grass seed is only $50 or $100, and they think that that's all there is to it. The thing is that one, it's unlikely that you're going to get complete germination with just one round of spreading the grass seed. And then second, it takes a lot of water to keep Bermuda happy to get it to grow properly from seed. So if the idea of watering your lawn 3 times a day for 2 to 3 weeks sounds like if something that you're willing to do, then Bermuda grass seed is for you. You know what I mean? Versus if you do sod, you can likely run a single irrigation cycle for the first week or so, and you're going to be just fine. And the thing is, in the spring, we tend to get enough rain to where you may not have to run your irrigation that much at all if you went the sod approach. Certainly not as much as you're going to have to if you do seed. What else can I tell you? If you have done pre-emergent in your lawns, if you already applied pre-emergent in your lawn this spring, you're not going to want to do Bermuda grass from seed because it's not going to germinate, it's not going to grow. That is when sod would make sense again too, right? So, and the thing is, there's some really nice Bermuda sods out now. Like there's, you can go with Tifway 419, an oldie but goodie. It's a classic. Can't go wrong with Tifway 419. But if you've got a bit more budget, you could go with Tahoma 31. That is a newer cultivar that's really nice. It's very pretty. It's a little bit finer leaf blade. It's got a lot of the benefits that Ardent 15 had, and that it greens up sooner. It goes dormant later. So again, I'm trying to kind of steer you away from seed if I can, and get you to go consider sod instead, because it's going to be a lot better. It's going to be faster. Like literally, what will happen is you prepare your lawn, you do all the prep work, like you kill off your existing grass, you prepare your lawn, and literally you'll go from like bare dirt to like I have a lawn when you do the sod approach. Whereas if you do the seed approach, you'll go from bare dirt to I put down all the grass seed, and then I'm watering like a crazy person and trying to keep weeds at bay while I'm doing all this. And it's going to likely take a couple of rounds to get good germination. And again, if you did pre-emergent in the spring, which you would have if you were trying to prevent weeds in your lawn, your seed is not really an option for you this spring or early summer because it's not going to work. So I hope that helps. Appreciate you watching the content. Thank you for stopping in on a Sunday morning. I know there's other things you could be doing on a Sunday mornings, but I do appreciate you taking some time to come hang out for a little bit and ask some really good questions. All right, next up is Glenn Jordan. He's dropping some more knowledge. He says, Freehand is a granular formulation of Tower for dove weed prevention that's significantly cheaper than Tower, but does go as far. Cool. Thanks for that, Glenn. I appreciate you as well. I'm going to take a screenshot of that. I'm learning some stuff about dove weed prevention and some options for it. Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, Jim Carson is up next. He says, sorry, Ron, my backyard is 10 years old. It's dead. It's knee-high weeds, foxtail, etc. Common Bermuda, used to be fescue. Our weeds grow as soon as it rains. We have a lot of rain this time of year. Okay, so I'm trying to remember what your question was earlier, but it sounds like if you're nuking it, you're killing it all off, you're getting rid of it. Yeah, because you did, I remember your question now. You said you use glyphosate and prodiamine. So yeah, so if you're going to be nuking it, and which you've already done, then are you going back with Bermuda or what? If you're going to be replacing or renovating the back lawn, and you're going to be using Bermuda, it will still grow in and root in. Like Bermuda tolerates pre-emergent better than a lot of cool season grasses are. Like if you were doing cool season grass, you might not get a great result if you put down cool season grass right after pre-emergent, like even from sod. But Bermuda will be just fine. It'll tolerate it without an issue. So thanks for that additional clarification, Jim. It makes sense now why you did it the way that you did it. Let's see. Lindry Butler says, Ron, can I do an aeration before soil testing? Yes. I would like to use the plugs from the aeration for soil testing. Sure, you can do that. Or you can just get one of these. This is like I'll show you. So in addition to the soil test kit, if you go to the golf course lawn store and you look at the soil test kit portion, there is just the standard soil test kit like this guy, right? But then there's also the starter pack, which includes a soil test kit and a probe tool like these two. So you get this, you get this test kit, and you get one of these to pull cores. So, I mean, unless you're going to be aerating here in the next week or so, then I wouldn't. In other words, I wouldn't hold off doing a soil test for you to go out and get for aeration just so you can get cores out of your lawn. You can use a tool like this to pull cores. They're really easy to use, and you can use that to get your sample. So, to answer your question, yes, you can do an aeration before soil testing, but I would not wait to soil test. I'm trying to explain this. I would not delay soil testing for when you can get around to getting a lawn aeration scheduled, if that makes sense. I would get your soil testing done sooner than later. Okay, Vashawn Brooks says, Sean, you're gonna be a really busy man. You're gonna be a popular man. You're saying, hey, I can do a lawn aeration in the Gwinnett area. Everyone is gonna be hitting you up. Everyone's gonna be hitting you up. If you want to, Sean, I don't have a problem with it. If you want to drop, I'm not sure if you have a business doing it. If you want to drop your phone number or email address in the chat, there's no problem with that. I can, because otherwise I'm trying to think of how you guys are gonna link up outside of that. If you want to drop your phone number or email in the chat, there's no problem with doing that, because I know some folks want to get their aeration on, and it sounds like you can help them out with it. So no problems at all. Feel free. All right, next up is Simple Cash Offer. He says, what liquid fert should I layer with granular? I have Kentucky bluegrass and I'm in the Midwest. Also, my soil temps don't get to 55 degrees till mid-April. What can I do? So what you can do, Simple Cash Offer, so with your granular fertilizer, so if we go to the lawn fertilizer section, if you're running any of these ferts based on your soil tests, you could be using Humic Max, you could be using the Complete, you could be using the Stress. Any one of those will work with your bluegrass lawn. When it gets to the summertime, I would move to the Stress fertilizer, because this has higher potassium. It's better, and it's by percentage. It is the nitrogen in the Stress fertilizer is more of it is slower release. So as far as not pushing a lot of growth in your Kentucky bluegrass lawn in summer months, this is a better choice than, say, like Humic Max. All right. Now, as far as what you can layer with it, you can do Turfplex, you could do 901C. If you need phosphorus, you could do Bloomplex. Any of these four fertilizers, so 901C, Bloomplex, Nutrisolve, Turfplex, any of those can be layered along with it. If you are using what I would say is you want to use the lower end of the application rate, because on the label for those products, for 901C, you'll see an application label range from you'll see an application rate range between 2 to 7 ounces. I've tested it on both ends of the spectrum, and I'll tell you that at 2 to 3 ounces per thousand, you're going to get a great result. So save some money, get more applications out of the product, and apply it at the 2 to 3 ounce rate. You're going to get good results with that, and you can layer that along with your granular of choice, and it's going to work just fine. So any of those products that I showed you in the lawn care section of the golf course lawn store, that'll work fine on your Kentucky bluegrass lawn. So the only thing that I would alter, be cognizant of, is during the summer months when it gets hotter, is back off on the amount of quick release nitrogen that you're throwing into you're giving to your lawn, to your Kentucky bluegrass. And if you can up the potassium a little bit, that would be a good thing. So like the Stress 12-0-24 would be a good option for your summer fertilizer. Next is Gary Freeman. He says, Ron, my soil test showed that my NPK was really low. Recommendation was a 14-7-14 FERT. As far as the P, is that enough, or do I need a higher ratio of P for my lawn? Depends on how much. Depends on how low it is. Depends on how low it is. If you want, send me your soil test results after the show, or send them to me, and I'll take a look at them once I get off the show, Gary. But to answer your question, yes, it will. Any fertilizer with phosphorus is going to raise your phosphorus levels. So to answer your question, yes. Now, as far as how quick they will raise them, you can go with something like someone earlier here would listed a fertilizer that's like a 18, was it a 18, 24, 12? Like that has more phosphorus by percentage than the 14-7-14, so it will raise the phosphorus levels faster, or you're putting more phosphorus levels by per application into your soil than you are with a 14-7-14, but that will still raise your phosphorus levels. So yes. And what you could do as well, Gary, is to say if your NPK was low, this is kind of this is actually a good question. So you're using the 14-7-14, right, as your granular. What I would do then, if you want to get a kicker to get your phosphorus levels up, is you could then layer that with a product like Bloomplex. Because if you look at the formulation for Bloomplex, that is an 8% nitrogen, 16% phosphorus, and then 5% potassium. So if you use the this along with this, you're giving yourself like a phosphorus kicker. You're boosting the amount of phosphorus that you're putting into your lawn, which meets both sides of it, right? So if you're only using a granular, yes, the 14-7-14 would work, but you can also use fertilizers that have a higher percentage of phosphorus by percentage. But if you want to layer the 14-7-14 with, say, Bloomplex, then you're good to go. Then you are really increasing the amount of phosphorus that you're putting into the soil in every application. So hope that helps. Need anything else, let me know. And if you also still want to send me your soil test results, my email is right here. It's ron@golfcourselawn.com. Send that over to me, and I will take a look at it and let you know what I think. But it's likely going to be what I just told you, the 14-7-14, and then add Bloomplex along with it. All right, next up is Optic Cyclic. He says, I'm pretty sure I had grubs at the end of last year in part of my lawn. How do I prevent it this year? Great question, and it's the time of year to do it too. So the way you prevent grubs in your lawn, Optic Cyclic, is with Acelepryn. This is the insecticide that I recommend, I love, that I use on my lawn. It's not only will it take care of grubs, this, unlike a lot of other insecticides, will also handle any kind of turf caterpillar. So if you have sod webworms, armyworms, annual bluegrass weevils, any kind of turf, those aren't turf caterpillars, but like any kind of turf caterpillar, this guy will take care of. We actually had, if I can find it, there was actually a post that I showed you guys last week that I will link to you here that shows all the stuff that Acelepryn will take care of. All of the turf caterpillars that Acelepryn takes care of, as well as how to identify what's potentially in your lawn. So if you want to take a look at, where is that? It's right here. We don't have it linked on the main stores yet because I'm building out some more info, some more content that this is going to tie into. That's why it's not linked on the main store yet. But because you guys are in the know, you're in the live stream, you guys get to get a sneak peek of this stuff. So this link, this page here talks about, which I'll bring up on the chat as well. This guy talks about common lawn pests. And you'll see that in the comment section, Optic Cyclic, and how to identify them. So it talks about your grubs, different types of grubs, your white grubs, billbug grubs, Japanese larvae, like Schaefer bug grubs, the grub life cycle. So everything you want about grubs and more. Then it talks about armyworms and chinch bugs, sod webworms. So if you want to know all about the stuff that's going to ruin your life when it comes to lawn care, this post is what you want to look at. But the long short of it, outside of the chinch bugs, which you really want to use the Miramichi Green pest control, that's for chinch bugs. Everything else on there, I believe, Acelepryn, this will take care of. Certainly any of the grubs. This will kill all of those. I'm not sure on the chinch bugs. I believe you need the Miramichi Green organic pest control for that one, or the non-toxic pest control for that one. It's not technically organic because it has soaps in it and that kind of thing. But as far as a non-toxic pest control, it will take care of chinch bugs. So hope that helps. Optic Cyclic, the time frame for doing that, or when I do it, is in the April time frame, early April time frame. So yeah, by all means, go for it. the acelepryn. This will do the trick. Now, I didn't cover that, but I'll show you. You've got it available in both a granular and a liquid product, so you can get it both ways. So back over here, so you can get acelepryn in both a liquid and a granular. As far as coverage, I recommend a spraying or applying acelepryn at the rate of bigger feed at the rate of 0.2 ounces mixed with a gallon of water over 1,000 square feet. If you mix it at that rate and apply it at that rate, you get pretty much the same coverage out of the granular as you do out of the liquid. Now, if all you were taking care of were armyworms, say you've got like an armyworm infestation in your lawn and all you care about is armyworms, another advantage of the liquid is that you're able to apply this at the rate for armyworms, which is quite a bit lower than the 0.20 rate. It's about a third of that. It's like between 0.05 and 0.08, I think, if memory serves me. It's a lot lower than the rate I'm telling you. But so that's the one benefit of the liquid. If all you were cared about was armyworms, you could get a lot more reach out of the liquid than you do the granular. But if you're applying it from a preventative standpoint to where you want to take care of armyworms, grubs, bill bugs, annual bluegrass weevils, you want to take care of all of them, then they are essentially the same as far as coverage goes. It just depends on which one you prefer to use. I will be using the liquid. Oh, and as a bonus, even though I said this on the live stream for you guys as well, any orders of acelepryn or Primo just for this weekend, just until Monday morning, until tomorrow morning, will also get included with it one of the fancy psychedelic stickers that you only really get these if you buy one of the Celsius or Certainty kits, like those that I only have a few of these, so I put these in like some of the more higher end, like one of some of the bundles. I say these for the product bundles, but if any of you guys want a fancy, like a fancy sticker that's like will shine all over the place and people will see you from a mile away, then if you order acelepryn or Primo over the course of this weekend, I'll also throw one of these in there as well. So hope that helps. But yeah, acelepryn is the answer to your question. Okay, EB is up next. He says, how long must you wait to apply fertilizer to Bermuda grass sod? Is it safe to apply humic essential G to sod? So most sod, when you get it, it will have some fertilizer to where you don't have to go and hit it with fertilizer right away. Most. If that's not the case for you, then you could do it a week or two after the sod has been installed. You can fertilize. That's no problem. What I would do is this, EB, is whoever is supplying it, ask them, say, hey, did you guys, has this been fed like prior to you guys installing it? And what do you guys recommend as far as introducing fertilizer to my new sod? Because a lot of times when you install sod, there'll be like a warranty as far as like, it's going to root in, they're going to give you guarantees as far as it performing well. And a lot of those guarantees are tied to you, like one, you having someone that actually knows what they're doing, install it, but also that you follow what they recommend as far as watering and how you feed it at least the first time. So ask whoever you are, whoever you're getting it from, what they recommend. If they don't care, if they say we don't, we got a big sod truck here and we don't really a big pallet of sod, you can do whatever you want with it. Then I would say a balanced fertilizer like this one, like the 14714, like that. You could use that on it. You could do it prior to even the sod going in. You could put that down first and then apply this and then install the sod, and then you're good to go. And then as far as the biostimulants like humic, any kind of humic acid product or essential G like this, you could apply that day. You could do it before, you could do it day of, you can do it day after. Like this, you can apply whenever you want. This is not gonna hurt your sod. So the biostimulants in general, that tends to be the case. So if it were me, like if you could, do it any way you wanted to, I would get essential G down, like a heavy application of essential G down prior to the sod being installed. Reason being is that it's a soil-based product. It needs to get in the soil to work. So why put sod down and then apply this product and have to water it in and have to work through the sod and get down into the soil versus you could just fast track it into the soil. You know what I mean? So I would, if you're starting from scratch, where you've got just bare dirt, heavy application of essential G, and then sod on top of it, and win. You're good to go. So hope that helps. Yeah. So and you can apply them. Yes, to answer your question, you can apply them to new sod. It's completely safe. So new or existing sod, there's no problem with that at all. All right, Devin's in the house. He's a Sunday stream. Nice. Going to send some rain my way, please. 20 degrees here today. Yikes, that's not fun. Keep that evil where you are. Don't bring that over here. He says about let's see, about 1 to 2 months before we can get going. Wow, man, it's crazy how much difference it is from Denver to here as far as your lawn care season. Wow, 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 wow. Yeah, you can have all the rain that we've got today. I mean, I like rain, but I just don't like it today because I had stuff I wanted to do this morning, and the rain is preventing it. But it's okay. I get to hang out with you fine folks and chat about lawn care for a little while, right? There's always that. And worst case, I can always just take that section of the live stream and cut it out and say, hey, granular versus liquid fertilizer, watch this. There's always that, right? There's always a way. There's always a way. And Jim says, I'll be putting in TIF Tough Sod. Good. Nice. I like it. Bermuda's a good choice. Can't go wrong with Bermuda. All right. Myra says, thanks. I wish I could do Bermuda sod. It's for a play areas for kids and half an acre. Landscape Care gave a $7,000 estimate. I wanted something with less maintenance for the kids to play on. The fescue dies yearly. Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, yes, Myra, I get it. It's $7,000 for sod for half an acre. That's a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not a lot of money, but as far as getting good germination with Bermuda grass seed, you're going to have a way to water it. So if you've got irrigation over that half an acre, then yes, you can do it. But keep in mind, I'll put it in perspective this way. My lawn is just under 12,000 square feet. When I did my seeding project with Arden 15, the month that I did that, I had like a $700 watering bill. And that's for soil, for ground that's been prepped. It's had all the love. And that's like 3 weeks of 2 to 3 weeks of watering a few times a day. It's like a $700 watering bill. So for half an acre, that's like double. It's like, but you got about twice as much as I do. So figure, if spending $1,500 to $2,000 in water does not sound bad, then yes, you can go forward with the seeding project. But it's I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you don't have irrigation or a way to water the grass seed, it's not going to produce a great result. Like, you're going to get some of it that's going to grow in, but in general, it's just not going to do as well. So again, sod will more than likely work. Sod, you're going to get your chance of success with sod is going to be a lot higher than your chances with seed, especially if you don't have a way to irrigate it. You know what I mean? So just something to think about, because you're trading $7,000 and watering, for a week or so, versus the cost of the grass seed, which is going to be, probably $1,000 for half an acre thereabouts, and a couple $1,000s in water. So just something to weigh in, because you're not really comparing equal things. You can't just look at the cost of the sod and say, yes, it's the same thing as the cost of the seed. The seed has higher installation costs to get it to grow in than sod does. So just something else to keep in mind when it comes to that. All right. Next up is EW calls. He says, what herbicide or preventer to put down in a rock garden that is dog safe for weeds and grass? I'm looking for a weed killer or pre-emergent that's safe for pets. Okay, so most products, most post-emergent and pre-emergent herbicides are safe for pets if you use them as directed. So if you go out and you were to spray prodiamine or dithiopyr, as long as you water it in and then you allow the area to dry, then it's safe for dogs or pets, or fur babies to get out, or kids to get out back out on the lawn. So most lawn care services, you'll find they will apply a pre-emergent and they'll stick a sign in the yard saying stay off the lawn for 24 hours, because that way they can be guaranteed that it's going to be dry. So as long as you are applying it properly at the correct rates and you're allowing it to dry, if you're allowing to water it in and then allowing it to dry, it's fine for pets. So that's thing one. Same thing for post-emergent herbicides. If you're spraying actively growing weeds with a post-emergent herbicide like Celsius or Certainty, as long as you allow it to dry, meaning it's completely dry, then it's fine for pets and their kids to re-enter the lawn. That's the big thing. As long as you're applying them as directed at the correct rates, there's not an issue with that. I mean, anything. I'll put you this way: anything that's labeled for use on residential lawns, that's as a general rule, that's going to be correct. As long as it's watered in properly, it's applied at the correct rates, and you allow it to dry, then you're good to go. For a rock garden, there's a product called Preen that's a pre-emergent, it's like a weed preventer type product, but you could just as easily use prodiamine too. You could use prodiamine, you could use dithiopyr. They're all going to work about the same. The big thing is getting it into the soil, right? Getting it like off the rocks and into the soil is what you're going to be after. And then for post-emergent, it depends on the kind of grass you have. If you have, I'll show you really quick here. If you go to the golf course lawn store and go to the weed killer section, if you have warm season grass, the herbicides, the post-emergent herbicides that I'm a fan of are Celsius and Certainty. These two combined take care of like 90% of the weeds that you're going to have in a warm season lawn. So it's a very good combination. It is gentle on your grass. You don't care about your rock beds, but it's gentle on your grass. And you can also spray them over a broad temperature range. So when temperatures are cooler or whatever temperatures are a lot higher in the summer without risk of damaging your lawn. So for warm season grass, Celsius and Certainty is what I like. For warm season grass, or so for cool season grass, Triad, like a three-way, and then Tenacity or Sedgehammer. These three are also great options for cool season grass, for like a rye or Kentucky bluegrass or a fescue lawn. These three for cool season grass. And then for pre-emergent, if you look at the pre-emergent filter, where is that? Right there. Then you've got prodiamine in granular, you've got dithiopyr in granular, and then you've got prodiamine in liquid. The benefits between prodiamine and dithiopyr, how to choose between them, is dithiopyr will kill young crabgrass, like baby crabgrass, whereas prodiamine will not. Prodiamine seems to work for a little bit longer than dithiopyr does. But either of these will work for what you're trying to do. So either of these granulars, or you can try a product called Preen that you might be also find at the big box stores. That will also work in your rock garden. But again, as far as being safe for kids and pets, as long as they are applied per label rates and used as and you apply them at label rates and you use them as directed, meaning you water them in or you allow them to dry on the grass or whatever you're targeting for post-emergent products, then you're going to be just fine. Okay, next up is Gary Freeman. And actually, you know what? I'll send you a link to the weed killer section to make this easier for you, because you're probably like, hey man, how do I find that stuff? You showed it, but then you didn't tell me where to get it. So I'll make it even easier for you. So EW calls, that is the link to the weed killer section on the golf course lawn store. So I hope that helps. All right, Gary Freeman says, thanks for the recommendation. Sent you the soil test about a month ago. Okay, so then you already know. So then, yeah, you're good to go then. So whatever I told you the soil test, that's what I would recommend. So yeah, the 14-7-14 and then Bloomplex along with it if you're looking for a liquid. That will do the trick. All right, next up is Scott and Amanda Harrington says, sprayed triclofluorin yesterday along with prodiamine because I had some and hadn't done any spring pre-emergent. Was supposed to get rain last night, but still waiting on it. It was a bit windy. Anyone worry about the drastic skin contact with these products? I had boots, gloves, glasses, long pants, and sleeve shirts, but impossible to avoid drips, runs while prepping and spraying. I don't. So what I would say is this: if you're using a product, Scott, that is labeled again for use on residential lawns, and you're using your PPE, like so you guys always see in my videos, I always do the same little spiel. Make sure you're wearing shoes with socks, long pants, long sleeve shirt, and gloves for extra protection. Wear glasses to keep the stuff out of your eyes. If you're doing that, and again, you're spraying at the proper rates and you're properly covered up, you know, I really wouldn't worry about it. The only thing that I would say is whenever you're washing your stuff, what I tend to do is this. Whenever I spray herbicides, I'll spray herbicides, and then the clothes that I was using when I was spraying herbicides, I will wash that separate from all my other clothing, from any of the other stuff. And I also tend to do it and take a shower afterwards. Is it strictly necessary? No. I mean, there's people that spray herbicides all day, every day for a living, and they don't go take a shower right afterwards, but I do. So if you're really worried about it, you can spray your lawn and then go take a shower afterwards and just wash the clothes that you were using to spray the lawn separate from the rest of your laundry. But again, if you're spraying the stuff at the correct rates, it's really, I am probably being overly cautious, but that's something else you can do, you know, if you're just really worried about that. Let's see what else. That crazy lawn guy, I'm not sure what that comment is about. He says, make friends with the manager at a new development, go collect their scraps. Okay, I'm not sure. All right, he says, okay, we will find some money and start budgeting. You convinced me. Long run, guessing sod will be worth it. Yes, here's the thing. I think so. I would not steer you wrong. Half an acre. Here's the thing. If you have irrigation, here's the thing. It's to look at. If you have irrigation, that's the big thing. If you have a way to water it, to water the entire half an acre, and you want to go with seed will be cheaper. But what I'm trying to help you to appreciate is that it's not like seed is, you know, that much cheaper when you're talking about, you know, that much square footage. I mean, it's well, $7,000 versus like $2,000. Well, think about this. It'd be twice as much in water. So it's going to be like $2,000 or so in water is what I would estimate. It's what I would budget, assuming that you pay for water what we pay for water, right? If you might be cheaper where you are, but if you're my neighbor, to water half an acre, 2 to 3 weeks, a couple times a day is going to cost you close to $2,000. And then for the grass seed is another $1,000. So figure you're for a good Bermuda grass seed anyway. So figure you're now at like $3,000, so about half the price, half the cost, and it will likely take a couple of rounds of seeding to get it to grow in and look nice. Now, whereas sod, literally you go from no grass to grass, and that's kind of appealing. I would think for most people, and the same thing applies. You have to keep the kids off the seed. You don't want them running around on the seeded area. On the sod, same thing. You don't want people running all over it, playing on brand new sod. But sod is going to get established faster, and you're going to be able to start using it and enjoying it faster than seed will. So it's just something to consider. I'm not saying you can't grow a lawn from seed, but for most people, they don't really know what they're getting themselves into trying to establish, a property from seed versus sod. So sod in most cases is the right answer. All right, Zach Daily Fest says, thanks for the channel. Very helpful. I picked up a 27-inch True Cut off your reviews. Like it. Got to clap it up. Congrats on the new mower. True Cut's a great machine. I love mine. Optic Cyclist says, I'm in Orlando last week, and the sidewalks had some really wide blade grass planted underneath the palm trees. What do you think that was? It was probably crabgrass. St. Augustine. It's probably St. Augustine grass, because it looks a lot like crabgrass. It is. I shouldn't say that. It's nicer looking than crabgrass, but St. Augustine has a much thicker blade than like Bermuda or zoysia grass does. So it could be what you're looking at is likely St. Augustine, especially given that you're in Florida, because St. Augustine's all over the place in Florida. Good stuff, guys. All right, so it looks like that is close to the last question that we had, and this wasn't really supposed to be a big, long Q&A, but me, I figured I would answer some questions. So that's it, and the rain is starting to let up here. It's starting to dry up. I can see more dry patio than wet patio, so now I'm about to get out there and go have some fun in the lawn, take all this camera equipment, take it outside, and do some filming. Hopefully you guys got some value out of this. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully it's not raining where you are, and go out and have some fun in the lawn. Stay tuned for a video coming out soon, and we'll see you guys next week on the live stream. Take care.